Krug Show going tonight. Larry Krueger, Ryan Smith, Dan Coccimiglio. Rye is not with us yet, but he will be. Fire up the music. 49ers make a trade, and a significant one at that. Christian McCaffrey comes to the 49ers in a trade. Huge trade. Absolutely huge trade. Larry Krueger, Dan Coccimiglio, Ryan Smith with you. It's the Krug Show. What can we say? That is just an absolute amazing thing. 49ers gets Christian McCaffrey. We'll tell the band to pipe down. Guys, take the rest of the night off. You get the rest of the night off. 49ers get Christian McCaffrey. And Danny, you just sent me the text from what the trade details. Did you not? Let's see.
Yes, I did.
Ian Rappaport. Full terms of the trade. 49ers get star running back Christian McCaffrey. The Panthers get a second-round pick in 2023, a third-round pick in 2023, a fourth-round pick in 2023, and a fifth-round pick in 2024. A 2, a 3, a 4 next year, and a fifth the year after. And Christian McCaffrey, come on down. We were coming back from Santa Clara tonight, late this afternoon, and I was saying that the McCaffrey trade would be very popular with both Lynch and Shanahan. Lynch went to Stanford. You know that he's probably been sitting there since he took Solomon Thomas third and Christian McCaffrey went eighth. And he's probably been sitting there for years going, I took the wrong Stanford guy. I should have taken Christian McCaffrey. Instead, I took Solly Thomas. And so that, I think, has been gnawing at Lynch. And then you've got the Ed McCaffrey, relationship with Mike and Kyle Shanahan that goes back to when Kyle babysat this player.
Exactly.
I mean, he talked about it earlier this year when the Niners played the Panthers. He talked about how he was Christian McCaffrey's babysitter. So they know the player. They know the makeup of the player. Now, what is the player? The player is spectacular is what he is. What he isn't is, an every down bell cow back. He's not your every down guy. He's not your just, running between the tackles 25 to 30 times every week. He's not, Nick Chubb. He's not Derrick Henry. He is a specialist back who can be utilized as a receiver. He can be utilized as a runner. He can be utilized on gadget plays. He is in very many ways like a Deebo Samuel.
Imagine both him and Deebo going across the field. It's just going to be much more.
I think it's a great deal for the 49ers. Why? Because they need to win a Super Bowl. And you know what? These moves where you trade draft picks for veterans, when is it a good deal? When's it a bad deal? I think it's a good question to ponder. It's a bad deal when you're starting out, when you put all your eggs in one basket, when you haven't built your roster. What the 49ers have proven in the last couple of years, especially this year, they can find players on day 3. They can find players late on day 3. They can find players after the draft. Look at their ability to harvest day 3 of the draft. Look at their ability to find undrafted free agents. They can fill out the back end of their roster with undrafted free agents and day 3 picks. And they have a tremendous roster. The Rams went and traded for Ramsey. They traded for Stafford. They got these guys, the very best players on their roster. When is it a good move to make a trade for veterans like this? When you've proven that you can find players as undrafted free agents and on day 3 of the draft, one, and when you've already built the core of your football team and now you're trying to win a championship and you're looking for that difference maker player. Why is it a good move then? Because you don't know if the player you take is going to be DeForest Buckner or Javon Kinlaw. And nothing against Kinlaw, but he's had injury problems. You don't know when your top 5 pick's going to be a superstar and a Hall of Famer, or when he's going to be Solomon Thomas, and it's not going to work out. I mean, the 49ers have missed on some high picks. But guess what? When you trade picks for the superstar player, it's very safe because you're trading the unknown. You're getting the known. You're getting a known commodity, and you're adding a great known commodity to your existing roster. So I like it. I like the move from the 49er perspective. Why? Because they are inside of their Super Bowl window, and it's go time. It's time for John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan to get a championship. Look at the NFC. You got the Giants, you got the Niners, you got the Eagles, and what else? What else you got? I mean, seriously, who's going to stop the 49ers from going to the Super Bowl this year in the NFC? I mean, yeah. I guess you could say Atlanta. I guess you could say, teams like the Bears, right, beat them. But, I mean, ultimately, I think it comes down to the Niners and the Eagles and the Cowboys. You might want to throw in Tampa and Green Bay, maybe the Rams, maybe one other surprise team, maybe Atlanta. But the 49ers, there's no team in the NFC playoffs that they're going to look at and go, uh-oh, no way. Even on the road. I don't care. I don't care if tomorrow you said the 49ers have to go to Philadelphia, to Lincoln Financial Field to play the Eagles for the NFC Championship game for a right to go to Arizona for the Super Bowl. So what? They don't fear that. I don't fear it as a Niner fan. They don't fear it as an organization. Right. Why? Because Philly's not that great, and that's not that daunting. And this team's been there and done it. So I think it was the right move at the right time for the right kind of player who instantly makes them more dynamic. Danny, I'm rattling off a bunch of things. I got all kinds of thoughts. Take it away. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I love the move. I'm seeing some comments in the chat. Some people are throwing things out a little misguided here, saying it's a rental. No, he signed for a couple more years at a favorable contract for the 49ers, favorable cap. This isn't a rental for this year only. He's here for probably next year and 20.
He's under contract. We could look up his contract. I think it goes through 2026.
I'm looking at it right now. He signed a 4-year contract. I'm trying to figure out when it was for, how long.
2021 probably.
Let's see.
So I think it goes through 2025 or 2026.
Yeah,
and it's for good money. But they also have Garoppolo coming off the books.
But he doesn't have much of guarantees either, so they can get out of it whenever they want.
They can restructure it if they wanted to. I mean, the big price was going to be, draft pick compensation. They didn't have a 1, so they had to go 2, 3, 4, and then a 5. So, it's a big part of next year's. They're all in. They're all in on this year.
And I don't think they're done yet. I'll tell you why.
I like it. I like them being all in.
I don't think they're done this year in trades. Here's why. He only counts toward this year's cap about $1 million.
Right.
So
it's very cap favorable this year.
So they've got a lot of room still based on Jimmy's restructuring of his contract. Remember, he dropped down from 25, 26 down. He might cap out at about 16. So they saved $10 million there. They can still go out and get somebody here late, possibly be even in the OBJ sweepstakes. I'm hearing Chiefs and Bills and Vikings, but maybe the Niners can step into that arena.
That is wild. Russell J says, here's $5. Yes. Was hoping you gents would jump on to discuss this. Happy to see you fellas. Russell, we're happy to be talking about this. Are you kidding me? This is absolutely exciting news. Calbo donates $10. His Niners will also have a compensatory. This is a great point by Calbo.
Yes, absolutely.
The 49ers will also have compensatory 3rd-round picks from the league for Washington hiring Martin Mayhew and the Dolphins hiring Mike McDaniel, and we'll get a 3rd pick when D'Amico Ryans gets hired this offseason, when that day comes.
Will they get that pick for the next draft for 23, or will that go into the 24 draft?
That's a good question. I know if you Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question, though. But either way, you're getting picks on the compensation pool. You've proven that you can make picks on day 3. You've proven that you can go find guys as undrafted free agents. That's the other thing. I'm looking around the Niner locker room, Danny. They didn't have a first-round pick this year.
No.
And this might be one of the better draft hauls they've had.
Oh, absolutely.
Drake Jackson, Ty Davis Price, Spencer Burford. I mean, they got all kinds of guys, and they got a bunch of good undrafted players.
And don't forget Poe's coming back. He'll be there available next year.
Jason Poe. We talked to him today in the locker room. Yeah. Somebody told us, Kamoko Ture told us that Jason Poe was the funniest guy in the room. So I walked up to Poe, and I'm like, hey, man, I'm a big fan of your game, but we got to get you on the show. And he's like, oh, yeah, well, I'd love to talk to you guys. So we're going to get him on next week.
Awesome. Hey, looking at McCaffrey's contract next year, signed for 11-8, 24, 11-8, and 25, $12 million. That's not horrible.
I mean, they're big contracts but also you can renegotiate them if you want. Right. You've got a player that you want to build around going forward. You also have the quarterback, the veteran quarterback, probably coming off your cap, most likely, right? Plus, now you've given Trey Lance another weapon that he can utilize at his disposal. Exactly. It just makes the 49ers that much more dynamic. But what I really love about it is that they're copying the Rams formula, which was the Rams basically said, you know what, we're all in on this year. Damn these draft picks and the future be damned. It's about right now. And they created the urgency and they made it happen. And I admire John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. It's easy to sit back and say, you know what, we probably shouldn't, not the right guy. I asked Cam Inman the other day in an interview that we did. I said, what do you think about Christian McCaffrey? And he's like, they don't need McCaffrey. What they need is a defensive lineman. But see, I would beg to differ. I think they need they need, you say, what's wrong with the 49ers? Let's talk about the 49er offense, Danny, for just a second. Yeah. What is wrong with the 49er offense? The 49er offense lacks dynamic playmakers. Now you say, well, what do you mean? They have Ray McCloud. They have Danny Gray. Danny Gray is a go pattern guy. Ray McCloud can make plays down the field, but you have to be able to protect. And right now you've got Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey who are dinged up. So you got problems on your offensive line. You don't have a quarterback who really throws the deep ball great. So you have these two deep threats, but you really have between Danny Gray once in the preseason and Ray dropping that one pass this last game, they have not been able to get their speed receivers deep down the field, but they still lack dynamic playmaking ability. So what do? You add a guy like McCaffrey to Ayuk and Kittle and Debo and your deep threats. And now you've got a guy that you can throw, another guy you can get big plays from in the run game, in the screen game, in the trick play game, jet sweeps, orbit motions. I mean, you can get really creative with how you spring him. You can get dynamic plays from McCaffrey as a runner, as a return guy, as a receiver. It makes your offense instantly more dynamic. And instead of leaning on Danny Gray, he's a rookie. Instead of leaning on Ray McCloud, he doesn't have great hands, and you don't know if you have the quarterback to get it to him deep anyway. And even if you do, you may not have the tackles to protect long enough for the quarterback to have time to go to let him get deep. McCaffrey gives you a dynamic playmaker that you can utilize immediately in all kinds of different ways, ways that aren't going to get your quarterback killed, ways that jive with Jimmy Garoppolo, ways that make sense, that are instant and guaranteed. So I love this player. I think he's the perfect player for what the 49ers need. They need to be more dynamic. They need to be more dynamic offensively, but they don't have the quarterback and they don't have the tackles and they don't have the deep threat. So now they got a dynamic runner / receiver. And I'm just eager to see, when does he play? Does he play Sunday against the Chiefs?
I hope so. I hope he gets in there Sunday. That would be awesome. Today's what, Wednesday? He's where was Carolina? They're practicing at home, so he's back out in Carolina. He could
welcome Rye to the mix. Rye, unbelievable. I'm sitting there falling asleep watching Clippers Lakers, and my daughter's like, "Dad, Dad, you might want to go live. And then all of a sudden, my son sends me a text, McCaffrey to the Niners, and then Rise there. Or then Danny called, hey, McCaffrey to the Niners. Let's go live.
I couldn't even. It sounded like I couldn't tell if you knew already, but also like you were almost in disbelief. I like casually, I thought I heard something about Christian McCaffrey as I was just walking around. Obviously, we stayed up till, we did we had a UK guest on the show last night. So we were up till 2:30. Then I had to stay up, edit it. I didn't get to bed till 5. We grinded all day. And I was like, oh, you know what? Tonight I can kind of take a chill pill. It's just about ready to take a shower. You know what? Even if I took that shower, I'd need to be hosed off again because this is insane. This is
absolutely incredible.
You know what's great is I'm looking at Twitter right now.
Wait, Dan, before you get going, they have now the best. I said this on the pod. They have Christian McCaffrey is the best route running, best receiving running back I've seen in my lifetime, and Debo is the best running receiver I've seen in my lifetime. So they all of a sudden it's like an NBA team where they're completely interchangeable. McCaffrey doesn't have to take this huge brunt. I think I told you, Larry, the only time I would go DEFCON trade for McCaffrey is if Debo got hurt. Now they have both, man. They don't have to run either into the ground, and all of a sudden that hurry up offense you were worrying about. There we go.
We have a new information coming down the hopper. Ian Rappaport is tweeting that Christian McCaffrey has already spoken to Kyle Shanahan and will likely play against the Chiefs in the red zone packages on Sunday. How about that?
Yeah.
How about that? And I just talked to Vish. I'll be going live with Vish early in the morning tomorrow to break this whole thing down. But yes, Adam Schefter, if you're just tuning in, 49ers trading a package of draft picks, a 2, a 3, and a 4 in next year's draft, a 5th round pick in the following year's draft to the Panthers. Christian McCaffrey coming to the 49ers.
Hey, listen to this.
An amazing story,
listen
really.
Listen to Vish's tweet 7 minutes ago. Vish says, the best part about the 49ers getting CMC is that Kyle Shanahan won't trade up in the 3rd round for a running back for at least the next 3 to 4 years.
It's to the point where immediately, I already see Grant Cohn's already cursing it, talking about, oh, is it smart to get a guy that, is he going to get injured? Let's not think about that right now. Come on. There has to be some positivity.
Personally, why is it a smart move? Why is it a dumb move? Okay, I think it's an incredibly smart move. Why? Because the Rams showed you the template a year ago.
There we go.
You get your roster to a certain part and your window to win the Super Bowl is open, damn it, you go for it. You go for it. And how do you win Super Bowls? The guys at the top of your roster win it for you. Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Matthew Stafford, the Rams, Von Miller, the Rams, OBJ. The Rams won because of the top part of their roster. The 49ers are deeper. Now, the 49ers are ideally suited to do this right now. Why? Because they have proven now multiple years in a row that they can find players on day 3 of the draft and they can find players after the draft to round out their roster. But their offense needs to be more dynamic. And Christian McCaffrey offers that dynamic big play ability without the risk of, are you going to get the quarterback killed? You could have trade for some 4-1 wide receiver if he existed, but do you have the quarterback to get it to him down the field? Do you have the tackles to protect? So this is a perfect situation because now you got a very versatile weapon. Running back, you want to use him on jet motion, orbit motion, trick plays, special teams, wide receiver, flex him out. This is the ultimate weapon with Deebo Samuel and the things that Kyle Shanahan can cook up in this offense and the dynamic nature of McCaffrey. I think he's the perfect back for the Niners right now. Why? Because if they had gotten him in other years when they were asking him to be the every down, ball carrier, I don't think it fits. But this team has Coleman, it has Wilson, it has other power backs. What it needs is the dynamic home run hitter, the big playmaker, the difference maker. And this is what this player is. So I think it's the right player at the right price at the right time. It's maybe one draft pick more than I would have felt comfortable offering. But guess what? You beggars can't be choosers. You're competing against other teams in this league for this player.
So which back do you think gets knocked out this week? TDP or Tevin Coleman?
Who even cares?
When you say knocked out, Danny, what do you mean?
That's not up on the roster this week. Who's the odd man out?
Well, and it could be a receiver.
It could be a receiver. I just say
it very easily could be Ray McLeod.
Yeah. I mean, but Jordan Mason, like, okay, we've been complaining about why isn't getting
Jordan Mason.
Now let's just, I mean, if you're not going to put him in the game, then he's out. They trust TDP enough to let him block as a fullback, so maybe he's here to stay. They trust Tevin. Maybe now Tevin can maybe go safely back onto the practice squad. They have another guy they can trust down there. I mean, it's who even cares about the marginal draft? Now people are like, oh, what's going to happen to Mitchell? Nothing's going to happen to Mitchell. Mitchell is not built to be an every down back, although he has looked great. And I think he has a chance. He could be, if he's the kind of guy that could stay healthy, he could be like a top 10 running back in the league in this scheme. But now all of a sudden it's like, don't worry, don't push that hamstring. I was starting to get a little worried, honestly, with the way they went away from the run after the Jeff Wilson fumble and they couldn't get the run game going. I was like, oh no, like they going to have to, rush Mitchell back too early? Nope, not anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
The draft next year is now boring. Yeah, but guess what? If you're showing up in the draft wearing your Super Bowl ring, something tells me you could always stare at that little fancy, shiny bauble. I mean, let's be honest. There is not a team in the NFC that's a monster. Going to the Super Bowl. Now, obviously, everybody wants to win the Super Bowl. Niners have gone to a couple that they haven't won. It's time to win number 6. But to me, you have to sprint with urgency towards your goal. And I don't care if you're doing sales or if you're trying to win a championship. If you really want to win, you got to sprint. You got to sprint. You're not going to be able to we kind of jogged towards our goal. And guess what? We made it. No. It's not going to happen. You're going to have to commit to it, sprint. There's going to be pain. There's going to be sacrifice. There's going to be blood. There's going to be sweat, tears. You know what I'm saying? You're not getting the brass ring without going all out. And I think John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan understand that. They also understand they got a team inside their Super Bowl window. So you got a team inside their Super Bowl window. You've proven that you can fill out your roster and then some with undrafted free agents. And there's so many of them of note in the 49er locker room right now. It's not funny. But what you don't have is Christian McCaffrey. You don't have that super dynamic runner / receiver, that difference maker. Well, and this guy became available. You go and get him. And they did. I think it was great.
They actually do, but his name's Deebo Samuel, and it's unsustainable to keep him doing that. And it's like all of a sudden they have there's only one other guy in the entire league. Maybe you could make an argument for Kamara when he's right, that could do what Deebo Samuel does as far as being a receiver and a running back and a workhorse. Christian McCaffrey is the only other guy.
And watching McCaffrey against the Niners the other day, I mean, you forget you dump the ball to him, a little short middle screen. He makes one guy miss and he's going to the house. That touchdown that he scored. I mean, Warner had a great angle. But this kid's fast and he's shifty and he's tough. And I'll say this. What's the risk? If you run him between the tackles like he's Derrick Henry, he will break down and he won't get what you want out of him. But this team has Jeff Wilson and Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason and Tevin Cole. They got a can full of between the tackles backs and TDP and they got power backs. What they don't have is that super dynamic player that can absolutely be the guy that keeps defensive coordinators up all night going, oh no, Sunday I got a date with this guy. How are we going to stop this guy? And I just think it makes all the other weapons better. And then also Shanahan's got a comfort with this player. He knows the player. He knows what his what his makeup is. Lynch knows the player. They know what they're getting. They're getting a guy who's a super tough, all-in football player. And as long as you don't use him as just your bell cow, every down, A-gap plow back, as long as you kind of, spot him and let, hand some of the harder carries to some of the bigger, more physical backs, you could have that. He could win you, 2 of the next 3 Super Bowls. I mean, this is a dynamic superstar player.
Oh yeah, this is an unbelievable move. Unbelievable move. And Russell J says Ryan is hyped up, donates $2. I'm with you, brother. Yes. So hey,
El Tiburon says.
Oh, go ahead.
El Tiburon says $5. Hopefully, getting him off that awful turf in Carolina and out of the NFC South will help. Yeah,
hey,
absolutely.
Anytime you can get
Bring
on
him
the
home.
regular grass, back into the Bay Area.
And I did Stanford's pregame show. This kid is super legit. I've talked to so many people. Heck, we could get Todd Husak on here, Dave Fleming, people that were close to the Stanford football program. This is a tough, smart, dedicated football player. And as long as you don't, just run him into the ground, because he does run. He runs upright. He runs a little bit upright. And he'll take some hits.
26 years old, so you're going to get him for the next 3 years. You got this year plus the 3 years after that. So you get him in his prime, and man, I mean, changes the entire structure, and don't even need to right now. Let's focus on now, but next year if you go with Trey, and you got a whole different animal now to deal with next year. So I like the move. One other thing I love about being on this channel right now is that I was watching the chat. We started out a little over 100. Now we're over 400. We're not the news breaking tomorrow on talk radio, or we're live now, man. We're hitting this thing.
People are fired up, man. People are fired. The Niners got Christian McCaffrey. I'd love it. Right. Can you check online right now what has happened to their Super Bowl odds tonight?
I will.
I would imagine they've changed, and I'd love to know what people think of the price tag. Do you guys view that price tag as prohibitive? I don't.
Not at all. It actually makes the Trey Lance sort of situation feel a little bit better.
Absolutely, because now
you combine those two together. Yeah.
Look at how many superstars you got on that offense. You've got Debo.
By the way, we may be getting a former teammate of Christian McCaffrey on the show soon.
Tonight?
Yeah, my buddy, I just texted him. I said, dude, would you do me a huge favor and pop on, talk a little McCaffrey to the Niners?
Dude, I could call Husak too. We could maybe get Husak on here if you guys want to fill for a minute or two. I can.
Here's the thing that is, you look at the offense. You've got Pro Bowlers in at the skill positions in Debo and Kittle, and that now you add McCaffrey. That's 3 Pro Bowlers in your skill positions. And then you still got Ayuk, who could potentially be a Pro Bowler. He has the talent. So this opens the door up. It's just like you said, Rye, about NBA basketball. It spreads things out more.
Imagine running motion with Debo and McCaffrey. You have no idea who's going to run a route and who's going to run the ball.
I know, exactly. And I think this it's kind of like when you add a great facilitator to your basketball team. It makes everybody better, right? Okay, like Steph makes everybody better. So now you've added another tool, a weapon. So everybody's going to get better. You'll see Ayuk be open more now. You'll see probably Kittle will be able
it just makes Jimmy. It makes Jimmy, Danny, so much more dynamic. He's so much more dynamic. Now you can dump it in the flat to this guy.
Right. Also, if you watch that Panthers team, they literally the reason why I didn't think they would trade him is because their entire offense was McCaffrey. He was the only one doing anything. They couldn't throw beyond the line of scrimmage, and McCaffrey was their entire offense. And I thought it was going to take some crazy sort of honestly, the Niners pounding them and getting Rule fired, and then the Rams rolling in, looking as bad as they have and just dominating them, I think was the straw that broke the camel's back. And now it's if they had Brock Purdy out there, if they have to roll out Brock Purdy, they have an offense just throwing screen passes and running the ball with Debo and McCaffrey and Ayuk and Kittle.
Hey, I know that, and I have no inside information on this. This is just pure thought. I know that, Von Miller says OBJ's coming to Buffalo. There's talk that he's coming to Kansas City, Minnesota. This could open the door for the Niners if the Niners do beat the Chiefs, especially this week. And because, it's going to be a money-making deal, and the Niners have cap room still. So, that Jimmy G reduction of this contract opened the door up for a bigger deal.
It absolutely did. Also, if you think about the guys that they got because Trey Lance was going to be running this offense. They got Danny Gray. They brought in McLeod. They brought in these deep ball threats to stretch the field. Well, you know what? That's not, obviously we all know that's not Jimmy's forte. What it is his forte is these little, little short passes, getting the ball out quick, being accurate, commanding the offense, all of that kind of stuff that honestly, Trey's kind of still catching up on that. But this is the perfect guy to bring in for Jimmy G.
Absolutely. I mean, it allows Jimmy G to have that dynamic safety valve. I mean, now really between Debo, all the different things that Kyle Shanahan can cook up creativity wise is just off the charts. I mean, you got running backs. Yeah, running backs. You could go, you could put McCaffrey in the backfield. You can line him up in the slot. You can line him up wide. You can use them any way you want to use them. There's lots of incredible creative ways they can use him, and they don't have to worry about, man, can we protect long enough to let him work open down the field? What if our tackles don't stand up, or what if Jimmy can't get the ball down the field? This is the throw it short, and they're already the rack monster team, right? This is the rack monster team of all time. You get Kittle, who's maybe the best run after the catch tight end. You got Debo and Ayuk, both run after the catch. Even Jennings gives you a little rack.
Oh, hell yeah.
And then Ray gives you a little rack. Well, now you got Christian McCaffrey, who's going to give you quite a bit of rack. So, this team's going to be.
Oh, what do you do when they go empty set and they got McCaffrey?
Oh, it's going to be incredible.
Oh my God.
Jesus M donates $2. Burns would have been good given all those picks.
Still could get him. Never know.
I can't imagine. Brian Burns. I'll say this about the 49ers. Kamoko Toure was on practice squad. He's a proven NFL guy off the edge. We talked to him today. You got Drake. You got a Menahue in the best shape of his life. You got Bosa, who was back at practice in full today. You got Drake Jackson, who what did Kamoko say they called Drake?
Oh, they called him the snake.
The snake.
He's so slippery.
Yeah, the Niners are pretty stacked at defensive end. If they needed help up front, they needed more Derek Brown than Burns.
Yes.
But this is the difference maker. This is the guy. And not only that, you got to have the buy-in from Shanahan and from Lynch. And the fact that these guys stayed aggressive, they understand. Look at the NFC. They ain't no team that's going to stand in front of the 49ers if the Niners are healthy in December. I believe that. I think you guys all believe that as well. I think the 485 people that are in this chat right now all believe probably that the 49ers, who's standing in front of them? Do you fear Philly? I don't.
No.
Do you fear Dallas? I don't. You fear old man Brady or old man Rodgers in Tampa or Green Bay? Because I don't. I don't fear Atlanta. I don't fear Minnesota. Buffalo, yes. Kansas City, yes. But those are teams that you're going to play in the Super Bowl. You want to go back to the Super Bowl, and you got to have that singular focus. I just think this is the price somewhat high. It's a lot of picks, but guess what? It's a win-win. For Carolina, they got to hit a restart, and for the Niners, in the middle of the season, they add a healthy player who where in the NFL top 100, where was McCaffrey?
I'm pretty sure he might have been off it the past couple of years because of injury, but before
he's not at all in the top 100. I think he's got to be. He's got to be.
If we're
the
just
NFL Network,
the NFL Network. It's voted on by the players, and so they usually don't vote on guys that get injured that year. But in a typical year when he's healthy, they vote him. He's top 25 guy.
Bomber T says we need a center and 2 interior defensive linemen. Hey, you know what? I'm not even questioning that. I've already said that I would replace Jake Brendel, and I see the same issues that you see, Bomber T. But I will say this. Don't forget, the 49ers got to the NFC Championship game and were one good quarter away, and they had Daniel Brunskill and Tom Compton on the right side of their line. Not to say that Brunskill's a bad player. He's very versatile, but he's a journeyman veteran, and Compton's the same. So I'm just of the belief that you can plug somebody, you can find a lineman and coach him up. Well, and they've got Colton McKivitz coming back. They love McKivitz. You can find a lineman. It's not going to be necessarily just a blue chipper or somebody who's going to truly dominate, but you can find a suitable lineman and plug him in. You're not finding Christian McCaffrey. There's no, you're not going to be like, you know what? Hey, we just added Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, we just got this guy he's fast and catch and he can run and he's dynamic. And,
You know what's great though, is they get him, like you said, they're going to get him for the red zone for the Chiefs. Then they'll have him for full week ready to go for the Rams. Then they get the bye week, so then he gets more acclimated with the offense. And then you still have 9 games left with him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's
and you're in your window, and it's time for the Niners to go. John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, they understand. They've built up tremendous goodwill with the fan base. They've done a lot of good things. There's just no doubting that. Anybody who says otherwise is a hater. They've done a ton of good things. They don't have the ring, and they want it, and they're after it. And they saw the Rams, make those trades and get over the top of the mountain. And now the Rams are in a different place. And the Niners, I think Shanahan and Lynch would feel like they were somewhat made men in Niner land if they could get that sixth Lombardi trophy for the trophy case. I think that's they know that that's how success is measured in 49er land. It may not be fair. It is what it is. Yep. So they know it. They're not running from it. They're embracing it, and they've made an investment here. And I think it's great. I absolutely think it's great. Senior softball games donates $1. Just for the heck of it. Ryan Fitzgerald says, here's $4.99. Christian McCaffrey definitely helps a struggling second half offense. That's the other thing. 49ers are averaging like 6 points a game in the second half. Their offenses look sluggish. It's not dynamic. I talked about it. We talked about it in the postgame, right? We talked about it. Go look at our live stream from after Niners Falcons. What was my main point? My main point was I didn't like the fact that Shanahan didn't go hurry up. I credited Arthur Smith and Marcus Mariota for an incredible game plan. And I said the 49ers offense lacks dynamic playmakers. What did they add today? A dynamic playmaker. So hell yes, I love this deal.
Yeah.
So CMC definitely, hold on a second, Danny. So CMC definitely helps a struggling second half offense. Does he help our defense off the field and beat Kansas City if Mooney Ward can't go? Well, Christian McCaffrey can do a lot of things. He can't step in for Mooney Ward at corner.
And honestly, we're talking, maybe going though.
Brett is going to go. We saw him today in the locker room.
It doesn't necessarily help them this week versus Kansas City because he's probably not going to be a huge part of the game plan. But as stupid as it seems, he actually does help the defense because he's going to be able to help them control the ball.
Right, ball control. That's a great point.
Ball control.
I think that's what Ryan meant. Keep him off the field.
Keep RD off the field.
Yeah. Hey, 21 personnel though. Look at the weapons: Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, Juszczyk, and McCaffrey. What are you gonna do?
Seriously, I love it too is it's Shanahan saying, "I got confidence and I'm upping the ante on myself." Because he knows you add a player of this ilk, you got to get it done. And to me, I admire that. I admire the guy that says, you know what? Bring it. Bring it. You know what? I hold myself to a really high standard. My goal is to win the Super Bowl. I'm not afraid of being in the spotlight. I'm not afraid of putting pressure on myself. I'm not afraid of gambling on myself and my coaching staff and my team. They're looking at the same thing we're looking at. There's Buffalo and Kansas City in the AFC. There is not a bully in the NFC. The 49ers need to be that bully.
As far as people are worried about the drafts next year, they're probably going to get 2 picks when D'Amico gets a head coaching job. They'll get 2 third-round picks for him. So compensatory picks. So they'll have a couple of threes, and a fifth. They didn't give up their fifth next year. They gave up 2, 3, and 4. So they'll probably have 2 threes and a fifth. And then keep in mind, this year they had an enormous number of draft picks stick. So they'll be just guys that are coming back. Plus last year. So the last 2 years,
they don't need. I mean, let's be honest, Danny. You're framing this perfectly. They don't need a whole slew of more rookies.
No,
they
don't.
got a really deep team right now with a lot of rookies. What they need is they need a little bit more talent at the top end of their roster, and that's what this is.
When you're this deep, you're looking at maybe 2 or 3 guys of your draft making it. Otherwise, I mean, look what they did last year with all the picks. You know, they kind of put Banks on the, just worked him so he's ready to go this year. Next year, it's going to be Zakel and Poe are going to be ready to go on the line. And
this year, Danny, if you count the practice squad, I think right at the cutdown, I was looking at it, the Niners have like a 13 or 14 member rookie class when you consider all the rookies on the active and IR and practice squad. That's a ton. That is a ton of young talent.
They didn't have room for Hasty and Trey Sermon. That's how much depth they had.
Right. They've got all kinds of guys, but they don't have a dynamic guy like this who can be, one of your 5 best players on the team.
Also,
you say the best players on the team: Trent Williams, Nick Bosa, Jimmy Ward, maybe Christian
Fred Warner.
Maybe Christian McCaffrey right there.
All of those guys, that's like 7 guys that are all like top 3 at their position.
Yeah. Val Ramos says, here's $2. I love the move. At least they're trying to win.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the other thing too. It's like, do you want your team to be all in? I do. I mean, not every year. You have to know when you go for it and when you don't. This 49er team is inside their Super Bowl window. The best player on the team is 34 years old. It's Trent Williams. Tomorrow, there's no guarantee he's even in the league next year. There's no guarantee that the Niners will have anything close to this much talent on their roster next year. It's a year-by-year thing, and you got to keep going for it. And I just love the aggressive nature of this move because it puts all the cards on the table. It says, guess what? We know we're good, but our goal ain't to be just good. We want to win the Super Bowl. And so we're all in. If that means we're going to wind up having a very thin draft class next year, so be it. We are all in on winning that Super Bowl. And when they're standing there in the winner's circle, remember this moment, because I think there's no way this team gets it done without Christian McCaffrey, doing a significant part of the lifting. I think he's going to be a huge player for them the entire rest of the way this year.
Absolutely. And if you look at just the depth chart and if you just talk about, because the way that Shanahan uses these guys, they're just weapons. Like you can just call McCaffrey, Debo, Ayuk. You can honestly say they're all the same position. They're all just weapons. And it's like, what happens when you bring in a total stud? Like in the NBA, you see guys get brought in, maybe some guy that's maybe he's a second option. But what it does is it makes it so that all of a sudden, the guy that was your second option, now he's just a third option. Your fourth option, now he's just a fifth option. Look at Andrew Wiggins. He thrived in that role last year because he wasn't asked to be a 1. He wasn't asked to be a 2, but he can be maybe the best 3 or 4 in the league when he can do exactly what he needs to do. That's exactly what's happening to the whole depth chart of weapons right now. Debo does not have to be overused. Kittle does not have to be overused. Like everybody is going to get better from this, including McCaffrey.
And
no question.
It's also gonna the guy that nobody probably even thinks about or talks about is like a unbelievable weapon, becomes even more so, is Kyle Juszczyk. I mean, he goes out in the flat on passes and is always open, does a wheel route at times. Now you got McCaffrey back there in a 21 personnel. What are you going to do when they're both going, on the...
Oh, I mean, could you imagine what you can do in a year from now, potentially, when you have Trey and you got Trey running to the edges and you got McCaffrey going the other way? And I mean, I love the move. I love the move. Why? Because it's not a speculative move. We know what what kind of player Christian McCaffrey is. It's not like, well, This is a dynamic, top tier NFL player who scores touchdowns and makes big plays and gives your offense a level of a dynamic nature that you just can't find. Hey, Zeus M says, here's $2. Can the suspect O-line hold on and block for this firepower? Maybe that's what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's going to be this is going to make the O-line better too, because this is a player that's going to, you don't have to, he's not Danny Gray where it's, hey, let's see if we can, hold the button, take a deeper drop and hold our blocks longer. This is a guy who's, gives you so much versatility that I think it makes teams have a lot of question marks at the line of scrimmage. And I think that helps everybody from the linemen to the other weapons. Ricky D says, here's $4.99. The last time the 49ers won the Super Bowl, a McCaffrey was on the team. There you go. Christian McCaffrey's a proven commodity who needs a bunch of raffle tickets. Who needs a bunch of raffle tickets anyway? That's right. Last time the 49ers won the Super Bowl was 1994. Guys, it's been nearly 30 years. Guys like Rye have never seen the 49ers win a Super Bowl. He's,
I was born in 95.
Exactly. This kid could be married with kids in a year or two, and he's never seen the Niners win the Super Bowl. I mean, it's go time. It's time for the 49ers to get that ring. And with Harbaugh coming back to the Niners this weekend, the focus was going to be so much on, Harbaugh versus Shanahan versus Harbaugh. Was Jimmy better? Do we miss yesterday? And all this crap. And now that dialogue and that whole narrative changes from that to let's see where this thing goes. And I think it's tremendously exciting. I think it's gonna shape the entire season going forward. Let's see. We got another one here.
Oh, we did that one.
Oh, we did that one. Let's see. Oh, yeah, here we go. Mark Failer says, holy smokes, Christian McCaffrey. I had a feeling. To your point, aggressive. This team is too talented. Sorry, Trey. Question, though, what Super Bowl hurt the most, 2012 or 2019? Hashtag Krueger.
Both painful, man. They should have won both. They should be 7-0.
No. To me, there's no doubt. It's 2012. In the Superdome, first and goal from the 5. You could have ran Kaepernick. He would have scored for fun. You could have ran Gore. He would have scored for fun. You never, ever call a timeout when you have an old defense at the end of the fourth quarter of a long drive at the end of a long year. That was the mistake of mistakes. Ray Lewis was ancient. Ed Reed, these guys were absolutely breathing fumes. I was in the Superdome. Every guy on that Ravens defense was grabbing their shorts. They were gassed. They were done. And for the 49ers to let a veteran defense, with guys like Bernard Pollard, and call a timeout and kind of regroup, when you were faster and more athletic, it was the Ravens game. The Bruce Miller hold to begin the second half, the terrible calls at the end to Crabtree, the ridiculous timeout. That game bothers me, as you can tell.
Well, and Larry, it's interesting because we were just talking. We were talking with our UK super fan. I guess this morning?
Yes, this morning, 1 o'clock in the morning.
And it was funny because, he's an older guy, but he became a Niners fan, American football fan later in life. So we actually had the same timeline of when we both became diehard fans. About 2010 for me, I was 15. That's when I really fell in love with the team. So I was kibitzing with him because it's like, we have not seen a Super Bowl. This younger generation has not seen a Super Bowl. And it's weird because there's also is this kind of, maybe it's partially the Giants and the Warriors winning in all these miraculous runs, but every time they made it to the playoffs, I thought they were the best team. I believed in the team. I thought they were going to win. I was just telling Larry on the ride back from practice today, the Niners, if you go from 2010 on, the Niners were in the playoffs 5 times. They made it to the Super Bowl twice, but all 5 of those times, they lost to the eventual Super Bowl champion. 2011 to the Giants. Should not have lost that game. That was BS. 2012 should not have lost to the Ravens. 2013, close game with the Seahawks. Everyone knew that was the Super Bowl. And then the Seahawks went on to just absolutely pants Peyton Manning on national TV. Okay, then fast forward to fast forward to 2019, and all of a sudden we lose to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And then last year we lose to the eventual Super Bowl champions, the Rams. So it's just they've been knocking on the door. So I love this move so much. It really it makes me feel good about Lynch and company and Shanahan, because you know what?
They get it.
And McVay does. Okay, McVay, think about all the crazy trades they make. The first rounder for this guy, first rounder for that guy, first rounder for this guy. They're aggressive, and I like it. But I like that Lynch and Shanahan, like, they could have easily done some of those same moves, and honestly, they could have put us in the Niners in a tough situation. But instead, they you know what trades they make? They get Trent Williams. They get the best left tackle in the game. They get Christian McCaffrey, maybe the best running back in the game, a guy who perfectly fits the system. Even their free agents, Looney Ward, like they weren't going after Jalen Ramsey.
They're in go for it mode. Let's read this one, and then we got a special guest in the green room. I can see him back there eating our food and drinking our beer.
Tearing everything up out there.
Digital Drew says, "Here's $10. Is there another trade in Niner history that rivals this as far as impact and hype? Is this proof that Lynch and Kyle's seats were heating up? How big of a factor was Kyle's relationship with Ed McCaffrey for this?" These are all great questions. I can't answer them. Danny can't answer them. Rye cannot answer those questions, but I know there's a guy who can. And so let's see if we can get him. Oh, there he is. Mark Willard in the house. Oh, he just cracked a sun-kissed.
Yeah, no.
Oh, no. What is that?
This is a 49er red or blood orange sparkling water. This is how I party, man. This is how I get out.
Mark, good to see you, brother. This came down. I was laying on the couch watching Lakers Clippers. I was starting to doze off. My daughter's like, Dad, you need to go live. Yeah. The 49ers just traded for Christian McCaffrey. And I'm like, no. Yeah. And then all of a sudden my phone started blowing up, and here we are. We've been live streaming. We got 500, almost 600 people in the room. People are fired up. Give me your perspective, Mark. You've been following the Niners for years. You're a lifelong Bay Area sports fan. Give us the breakdown. What was your first? Did I tell you, by the way?
No. Well,
okay.
I get sort of. So but not really, because similar to you, like the Thursday night football game was starting to put me to sleep.
Right.
I kind of dial out. I go in the other room. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go just kind of dial out from screens and go get a little quiet time in the bedroom. And I come out, and the football game is just ending, and we sort of hear Carissa Thompson say something about Christian McCaffrey and the 49ers.
Same thing.
I go, wait, what did you, I had heard the rumors. Tim Kawakami had written the article a few hours ago, and I go, Kawakami's not writing that unless he knows. I could tell when I read the article, if you guys saw it in The Athletic this afternoon.
No, I didn't see it. What?
Yeah,
did he hint towards it?
What's that?
Did he hint towards this trade going down?
He was basically like, look, they're kind of becoming the favorites, and I feel like this has got a shot, but he's sort of like, they'll wait it out, and maybe a third and a fifth, and it could fall their way. And so I'm sitting there going, he's not writing this unless somebody gave him like a nod, like this may go down. I didn't think it would happen that fast. But so then I hear that and I go, wait, what's going on? I go to get my phone. I literally had been away from my phone for 10 minutes. There were 33 text messages and you were one of them. So you are one of 33 people who tipped me off, if you want to put it that way.
Willard, give us your breakdown. What do you think? I mean, I don't know if you saw the details. It's a 2, 3, 4 next year. It's a fifth of the year after. I was listening to you and Dibbs, and you guys were talking about this, and I think maybe you had commented on Twitter a day ago, like somebody had said, hey, it's going to take multiple ones. And you're like, all right, that's a deal breaker kind of a thing.
So Schrager said that on NFL Network the other day. And my comment was that was clearly from the Panthers. Like the Panthers were putting that out there because there's no way anybody's going to do that with the injury history, the contract, the this, that, the other. But you started to see the handful of teams where this potentially would make sense. The Bills, the Chiefs, 49ers, and the Rams are the four that sort of were spotlighted in my mind. And I wonder if the presence of the Rams and what happened with Matt Stafford the year before was not resonating in the brains of Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch on this one, because the last thing they want to do is get beat to the punch again to a game-changing player and have it go within the division and then therefore now have the division. I mean, how awful would it have been? Let's say this Sunday doesn't go well. You're 3-4. You've got to beat the Rams. And suddenly Christian McCaffrey is on the other side of the line of scrimmage at SoFi Stadium next week. I don't think the 49ers were willing to stomach that. And the bottom line is they really, what did they actually give up here? A second-round draft pick, sure. The third rounder, no big deal. DeMeco Ryans going to get a gig. They're going to get two more third-rounders out of that. Exactly. Replenishes that whole thing. Fourth rounder, whatever. The way I look at this, they gave up a 2. They gave up a 2, and you do that for Christian flipping McCaffrey.
Is there any downside to McCaffrey's game? Because I see it as like, okay, if you think you're going to use him as your bell cow between the tackle back, then you're probably putting him in harm's way. He's probably going to get hurt. He's kind of proven that he's not Derrick Henry. He's not Nick Chubb, right? And fantasy football fans have kind of experienced that. He spent a lot of time injured. But the 49ers, Mark, have Wilson and Elijah Mitchell and J.P. Mason and Tevin Coleman. They have the other backs to take those carries between the tackles, and they can use this guy as the jack of all trades. And to me, it seems like a player with this skill set and then Kyle Shanahan's creativity. I just think that this is not just the right player. I think it's the right player in the right offense at the right time.
I don't there's any doubt, and everybody worries about injuries. The 49ers are the most injured team again, and we know McCaffrey's history. But if you look at it the way you just detailed it, it's kind of like he comes in and it takes the pressure off of everybody. You don't want to use him the way Carolina used him, but you also probably don't want to use Debo the way you've used Debo. And so now you can do a little bit of both, and you do have depth at the running back position. Look, if Christian McCaffrey misses a game or two later in the year, it's okay. You do have Eli Mitchell. You got Jeff Wilson. I do find it interesting that in back-to-back years you've used a top 3-round pick on running backs, and then you make a move like this, right? We forget about TDP, who we haven't seen a whole lot of. And then you make a move like this, and this is a guy who's under contract for 3 more years after this one. So you are sort of jettisoning whatever it was you were doing at the running back position. You are now suddenly saying, we've got a dude and he makes money. Those are the two things that they've never done. But again, I just think it's opportunistic. It's reactionary to what the Rams did last year. And it's realizing that this guy in this system, you put McCaffrey on one slot and Debo in the other. I don't, as a defense, you're up a creek before the ball's even snapped.
We're talking to Mark Willard, 95.7 The Game. Catch him and Dibs every morning on 95.7 The Game. They do a great job. I was sitting in for Rado, and we had Michael Irvin on with Damon. And Michael Irvin made the statement, I think it was last Monday, that in his mind, it's the Niners, the Eagles, and the Cowboys in the conference, and everybody else need not, don't be concerned with anybody else. Do you subscribe to that or to that theory? What do you think? I mean, I love this move because I think the Niners are in their window, and I think the NFC is pretty thin. But I don't know that I would agree with Irvin on that.
Well, I think in terms of a projection forward, I do agree with him, and here's why. It doesn't mean that there aren't other players. The Buccaneers will have to be dealt with. I don't know if the Packers will figure themselves out. The division though feels incredibly winnable. But here's why I do sort of subscribe to what Irvin's saying. If you look around the NFC and you look at the history of the game, if you've got a really, really good, if you've got a top 5 defense, you're a playoff team. You're going. And so right now, no matter what, teams will be in sync, out of sync. The Cowboys and the 49ers are the two scariest teams because they have the 2 best defenses. Philly is tracking toward right now the inside track to be the 1 seed, and their defense, while not devastating, is good. It's also pretty good, and Jalen Hurts is playing some really good football. So right now the 49ers aren't playing like a top 3 team, but if we all project some health, some breaks, now the acquisition of Christian McCaffrey, if I'm looking at it instead of the record and everything we've seen, who scares me if I'm a team that I don't want to play that team in January, I would agree that those three teams scare me the most. They're the hardest to score the ball on.
Danny, Rye, if you got a question for Mark or you want to, throw something his way, we got him here for a few more minutes before he calls it a night. And Willard, I appreciate you jumping on with us, man. It's always good to talk sports with you, man.
I've always wanted to be one of these people who could scream "emergency pod" and then run to their computer. So this qualifies.
Oh yeah, no, I like your point with I was making the point before you jumped on, Mark, about the Niners having such deep drafts last year and this year that they've got guys on the practice squad on the offensive line and Poe and Zakel and then they were so deep that they got rid of Hasty and Sermon that they don't need all those draft picks next year. They only need a couple of picks, and they're going, like you said, they're going to get 2 third-round compensatory picks for Ryans, and then they've got a 5th, a 6th, and a 7th. They've got plenty of. It's all they need.
Yeah, well, and you could even joke about it and say the 5th, 6th, and 7th is where they get all their guys anyway.
Exactly.
So just keep picking those squad, your 1s, 2s, and 3s. And then beyond that, I think about it this way too, even though we all love the versatility of a rookie contract. So you don't have to worry about the money too much. But if you think about it now, let's say they do keep McCaffrey. We don't have the financials yet, but that's 11.8 basically for the next 3 years after this one. Right. If you're now suddenly going to put money into that position, which you haven't done before, and we know that there's a big bag about to await Nick Bosa. They just did what they did with Debo, Kittle, Warner. You don't want, in theory, to be paying first-round draft picks because that's more that you need to fit into this calculus here. And again, as I think most of us have agreed for a while, if you can sort of figure out the quarterback position and how to score points on this team, I mean, they got the rest of the roster figured out. You know what I mean? Right now, you add McCaffrey, and the only thing that this team really would need if you were to go get more players, I think another reliable offensive lineman or two is really all that this roster needs, and then it just needs to be blessed with help.
I was thinking that on the offensive line. What do you think, guys? Since Carolina's kind of selling everything, it looks like their center Bradley Bozeman's a free agent after this year. Is he an upgrade over Brendel? I mean, he's pretty middle of the pack.
I don't know. It might be marginal also because the center position in Kyle's offense, you do kind of have to.
It's hard to know. Yeah, that's hard to know.
Larry, I know you're down on Brendel, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, Brendel had a terrible game, and I just feel like there's better guys already on this team. I think Poe could be better. I think Zakel could be better. I don't think they'll go all year. Poe? Yeah, we got a guy. Kamoko Ture, Willard was telling us in the locker room today. We asked him, "Who's the funniest guy on the team?" And he's like, "Man, it's Poe." And then we he said it loud, and Poe started laughing. So we're going to do a thing with Poe. No, but I this to me is a really, really smart move because it gives the 49ers a more dynamic offense without. Jimmy doesn't throw the deep ball particularly well, and they have offensive tackle issues. And so they have a burner in Danny Gray, just they can't really get it to him. And they have vertical threat in Ray McCloud, and his ball skills are kind of questionable, and they may struggle to get it to him. They're not going to struggle to get the ball to Christian McCaffrey. And I also like it because you're competing against Buffalo. How good is Buffalo? You don't want Buffalo getting this player. You don't want the Rams getting this player. You really don't want the Chiefs getting this player. I'm not sure the Chiefs were even after this player, but this is a difference-making type of player for the 49ers. So I like it. And I like the fact that Shanahan and Lynch are not afraid to make this commitment. I got to ask you, though, Mark, because I listened to 95.7 religiously now that I'm filling in there. And you guys have been talking a ton this week about Harbaugh and Shanahan. And I know Grant Cohn put out that whole who's the better coach and this and that. But I just think that the 49ers are very sensitive to that whole dialogue. And you got Harbaugh rolling in this weekend, and the narrative was going to be about, the Niners and the Chiefs being the game of the week in the NFL. But I think it's partly, especially if the Niners lose, going to be partly about Shanahan versus Harbaugh. Now, I think this deal, they didn't make this deal because of that, but I think kind of an extra bonus of this deal is that I think this now becomes the central focus for sure over anything like that. Listen. And I think the 49ers are thrilled by that. But I wanted, because you're a great person to ask Mark about your sense of the market and how people are feeling. What kind of responses did you guys get throughout the week on the Harbaugh Shanahan, invariable comparison with him coming back to town?
Right. I mean, and our show didn't really dive into it too much until today. But certainly tapped into what everyone was saying on our feeds and our text lines and everything. And I think two things. I think first off, whenever you're comparing a current coach to a past coach, the past coach has an advantage because they're not in the middle of the emotions of what happened last week. You know what I mean? And so we always remember people for their best stuff. Like, we don't remember the drama that Jim Harbaugh brought. We don't remember that Jim wears us out. We don't remember Colin and Alex and Jim Schwartz and all that. And when we do remember it, we just sort of chuckle at it. So I think there were a lot of people that were sort of leaning Harbaugh because even though they both kind of have gotten to the same point, they've gone the same distance, which was to the Super Bowl and lost. People will remember Harbaugh just kind of for the positive, and you don't have to go and, with Shanahan, it's like, and last week they couldn't score points in the second half. So there's some positivity with Harbaugh that isn't there with Shanahan. But the big takeaway that I think people got, which I thought was unfair, is a lot of people said Harbaugh gives you on the sideline what Kyle doesn't. You slapping Alex Smith's shoulder pads and making facial expressions and just there's an energy there. You and I, we've had this conversation about the Giants for years, the Brandon Crawford and Brandon Belt and Buster Posey. It's like, is there any energy there? But I thought it was an unfair conversation because I'm like, first of all, I think Kyle is better liked in the locker room than Jim Harbaugh ever was, number one. And number two, why would I want Kyle Shanahan to be jumping up and down and going crazy on the sideline if that's not authentic? Like, that's not him. Exactly. And a team will see through that right away. So that's Jim, and he can get away with it because he's a crazy person. And it's not Kyle. And there's like literally zero data that says if you're more fiery, you win more. Tony Dungy won a Super Bowl, right? He doesn't swear. So that was kind of the takeaway, though. And I did think it was a little bit unfair. They both did really good things that were not expected with the roster they took over. But if you're asking me right now who I would want going forward, if you could have either, it would be Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, and so what you're saying is that the real discussion is, could Kyle beat Ohio State if he was at Michigan? That's really
Mark Failer donates $9.99. He says, first off, another 20 of you can guess who my avatar is. Who's that avatar? So he says, secondly, Steiny and JD posed the question earlier today on 95.7 The Game. Who would the faithful rather have behind the wheel, Harbs or Shanahan? So it's a salacious topic. I don't blame anybody.
Is that supposed to be Terry Bradshaw? Who is that? Who's his avatar?
I have no idea who that is.
Mark, you recognize Mark Failer.
The guy's got a great tan. I'll give him that.
But I'm just getting over. I had my thing on my screen on the wrong chat anyway. I was in the private chat, and so okay, I see it now. No, I do not recognize that.
No, I don't either.
I think
I'm going Terry. Wild guess Terry Bradshaw.
No, it looks like Sean Connery or something.
Willard, you're dead on because that's the thing. It's like, okay, everybody from the outside perspective is looking at they want to see the rah-rah on the sideline. Everyone remembers, Vernon Davis crying and running over to Harbaugh and whatnot. That's all great. I still think Harbaugh's a great coach. Yep. But to me, the most important thing, and we had Matt Miyoko on talking about it, or we didn't know Matt Barrows on talking about it. And what he was saying is we were asking him about the difference between this locker room and like the Harbaugh years and all the other years he's covered it. He said, this is the best locker room. It's not even close. This is the best locker room that they've had. All the guys in there, and we can attest to it being in there, They're all super nice, super courteous, no off the field stuff. They clearly are running a specific program. They're getting specific guys. And I think that that's like the thing that nobody sees that actually is the most important, where, there is that locker room is so healthy right now. It is crazy healthy.
I got some off the record or heard of some off the record comments from Joe Staley just a couple years ago. And he's like, Kyle's the man. Like, that's how that team sees Kyle Shanahan. And Joe was there for Jim. And I don't think that too many of the players felt that way about Jim. And look, how your players feel about you is only one aspect of coaching. I get that we're here for results, but both of them, by and large, gave results. They both changed the culture. They both turned around a roster that had all kinds of holes. It took Kyle a little bit longer for sure. I get that Jim's record was better, but we're here now. And I just think when people look at Kyle Shanahan, look, I'm frustrated too when I see you get the ball with 10 and a half minutes to go and you're down by 14 and you pull out a cigar and a smoking jacket and just start lollygagging down the field. That didn't make sense to me either. But the bigger picture is people forget where this team was when Kyle took it over. He's done a really good job.
I was critical too the other night when we were on Sunday night about that last drive. Where's the hurry up? I read it. I don't know if you saw Tim Kawakami's article in The Athletic about that drive, but very interesting point he made. He felt like maybe Kyle was kind of almost like saying, given the game and saying, I can't afford to get any more guys on defense injured by giving them the ball back. Because the defense was so gassed and so depleted, it was like.
You're saying he wasn't going for the win on that ninth drive?
Well, he was.
I'm throwing a challenge flag there.
Point was, exactly. Was that they're going to try and win if they get, score and then get the ball back. But he wasn't going to try and hurry up based on. He was saying that the Niners play for the future. They're not playing, they're playing the long game. And I thought it made a lot of sense because they were already dropping guys that day already. They lost Ward. Now it's like, who else can you afford to lose going into the heart of your, they got to win one of these next two. They have to.
Yeah, well, actually, they're in really good shape as long as they win one of these next two. I think. Yeah. Did you all catch the comments? I'm sure you did from Jaquiski Tart with regard to basically maybe the problem is that they're running these guys too hard, hitting too much.
It's funny.
I mean,
it's funny. We were in the locker room today, Mark, and Matt Barrows. We were standing right next to George Kittle, and Matt Barrows asked Kittle about Tart's soundbite, and Kittle, who's pretty honest, but he's also a team guy. But he said, "Hey, I felt like we had a good camp. I think that that the coaching staff here protected our bodies." He's like, there are some teams that have like 100 play scripts. The most we ever had was 30 plays. And he made like several points that we got the soundbite that we'll play at some point. But he made several points that he felt that the 49ers, at least under Shanahan, that the coaching staff does protect their bodies, and that what basically pushing back on what Jaquiski was saying. So
and he's still on the team, and he's also a physical freak nut job who loves to truck people he'd rather block than catch. So if if there's someone who's going to back Kyle on that, I would expect that. I'm not dismissing what he's saying as untrue.
Right.
I just think, look, if you're going to be in the bottom third of the league in injuries every year under your reign, it would at least, I don't know, it'd be worth it to look at doing something a little differently, don't you think?
Yeah.
There's another theory out there too, regarding the way they play. The type of athletes they have are fast, super, super fast, and they just like run to the ball like crazy. And then when they have to stop fast, sometimes you pull these muscles, these hamstrings, these growing muscles, and a lot of
and
that.
Sometimes Danny's point is right as far as the speed of the game. I mean, Ryan and I went up to Dre Greenlaw yesterday, and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on, man? How you feeling?" Because he's got the elbow wrapped pretty tight, and
he's sweet, by the way.
He's got the big old dip going, the grizzly. He's like, it's my grizzly, but but he looked kind of sore, and so I'm like, man, how's the body feeling? He's like, man, not good. He's like, not good. And makes sense, Mark, because the guy's made like 30 tackles in the last 2 weeks or whatever. It's 35 in the last 3 weeks, whatever it was. And all of that contact, I mean, we're watching it and we love seeing it, but there's bruises and pain that goes along with playing the sport if you're fast and there's a lot of contact. I would say the only thing I could say about the 49ers and injuries is that Shanahan likes speed, especially in his backs. He's not worried about the backs that run kind of upright. That's why he had a Raheem Mostert. And if you have backs that run upright and they've got a lot of speed and you like to run it a lot, those are high-speed collisions with guys who are taking big hits, who are pretty fast. That means they're probably not that big. I think that has a lot to do. They're because they go through let's be honest, they go through a can of backs every year.
Yep.
And a lot of it is because there's high speed collisions there. So I think if there's anything that can be pointed to that kind of makes sense, it's maybe that. Other than that, I can't really I don't think it's about how they practice on Wednesdays or Thursdays or how much rest time they have, or I really don't buy that.
Hey, Mark, I have a question for you before you have to get going. So as a guy who's, obviously you've seen way more football than me, and I really don't know. I watch the game. I'm not some Greg Cosell or anything. So the way that there's always
that's Larry. But anyway, go ahead.
There's trends every year where it's like, oh, okay, now all of a sudden it seems like these offenses can't be stopped. Well, this year, all the smarts, I would say in quotes, all the smarts are saying that everybody's playing the two deep safeties. And so everybody's having to, throw everything underneath, and there's not really as many explosive plays. And you're seeing that around the league, and you're seeing why teams like the Patriots with Bailey Zappi or Arthur Smith and Mariota, completing 12 passes. These teams are, just not making mistakes is seems to be good enough. First, do you think that that's going to continue for the rest of the year? And second, bringing up, like we were talking about, the teams you're scared of in the NFC, because the Niners defense is so good, and now adding McCaffrey, it seems like, and I'd like to hear your opinion on this, it seems like the Niners are almost the most well-suited, if this trend continues, to have a strong offense where, all they're doing is throwing it short and running the ball and all that.
Yeah, so TJ Hushmanzada was on the show today, and we asked him this exact same question that you asked, and he gave the answer that you sort of indicated he would give, which is the defensive coordinators have sort of backed off and said, all right, we're going to make you repeatedly beat us. And my best guess right now, and let's use Russell Wilson as the poster child for this, is that too many guys are almost maybe letting their ego stop them from taking what the defense is giving them. Because, and I know there's been 100 of these highlights where you're like, what the hell is Russ doing? But if you saw that one from Monday night against the Chargers, where he's getting pressure from both sides, and he's literally got his slot receiver by himself standing in front of him 10 yards, looks right at him, and instead hucks the ball downfield. And we've watched everybody force, and so many picks in the red zone because it's like force. I don't know if these elite quarterbacks, have this ego where they just can't back off of it. And so you see Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson and these guys just not look the same. You would think that actually benefits the 49ers, because over here is Jimmy going like, yeah, I'm fine. Like just 5 yards.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Quick release, Jimmy.
Yeah, that should bode well for them going forward. And I think, to your other question, just sort of like, if this looks like we think it can look, then what I would say out of the NFC, I don't know what the record will be and who knows if they can get there. But if you give me one team in the NFC that has the best chance to play for full 60 minutes with Buffalo or Kansas City, it's the 49ers.
Yeah, I agree.
That I don't know if they can get to their best selves, but we know what the roster looks like. We've seen them, when they've got an elite defense, 3.5 quarters against Mahomes. Like, they've got a defense that can keep them in the game, and now they've got the offensive firepower, you'd think, to be a big play team that doesn't need to throw it downfield to make big plays. I think that's the blueprint. I think that's what they're going for. We'll see if they get there.
Jaguayo 56 says, here's $2. He says, F the picks. We want to win now. CMC rip the Rams. We also have this one from Mark Failer, 1999. He says, just because I'm a Krueger head, this goes back to my 5 current Sharks question. It's the John Madden of Canada, Don the Legend Cherry Willard. Please, please say the San Jose Sharks.
Well, so now let me understand how your YouTube channel works, even though this is the second time I've been here. Did this person just give you $20?
Yes.
So that this, okay, how much
So
of
this
this
little
$20 do I
exchange-
get if I say that name right there? Do I get a cut?
You might get a Krueger Show T-shirt. I gave one to
professional
Goo.
voiceover person. I don't do this stuff for free. Come on. All right. Yes, I want a T-shirt. The San Jose Sharks. There you go.
There you go.
There it is.
9 to noon. This guy's as good as it gets. Mark Willard with Dan Dibley. Hey, by the way, I saw you react to my Aaron Judge tweet. You saw that?
Dude, you got to text me. Who is this super fancy? Now, listen, I'm going to take a victory lap if you're right, because I've been trying to tell all of the Giants haters in my building. I don't know why they're so activated against Farhan Zaidi, but I've been trying to tell them it's not that I necessarily thought or I'm going to predict that Aaron Judge would come to the Giants. Here's what I said.
Right.
If he leaves New York, he's coming to the Giants.
Absolutely. I believe
that. I believe.
Okay, so this is what I
100%.
know. This is what I've heard, and I've got sources. Aaron Judge is at the top of the Giants list, but the Giants are at the top of Aaron Judge's list.
Look, I like what every Giants fan should be hoping for. You've actually seen a lot of clues that would indicate this, which is that Aaron Judge, you are hoping that he is somehow annoyed with how the Yankees handled this early in the season.
Absolutely.
And therefore is simply motivated to not be on that team anymore. I know it's counterintuitive because it's like, who leaves the Yankees? Who leaves that brand?
Right.
But if he's chapped off about the way they handled it, and he might be,
I think
then the Giants are the clear favorite.
There's bad vibe, from what I've been told, bad vibes between Judge and Cashman, bad vibes between Judge and Judge's wife and the New York press, that he wants to be West, that the Giants are his first choice, but sadly the Dodgers are his second choice.
Which actually makes it more likely that the Giants get him, because
the Giants have said we will not be outbid, though.
And the big issue with Judge, from what I've heard, it's twofold. It's how competitive of a team can the Giants put around him in 2023, and there's some concerns about communication with Kapler. That's what I've heard. So, but I've heard that he's their number one choice, and believe it or not, that he's their number one choice, and that they're his number one choice, and that he wants to go West. He's looking to leave New York, but it's going to come down to the Giants or the Dodgers. He'd rather play with the Giants. But the talk is coming out of the Giant thing is that they're not going to get outbid, that they're all in on Judge and they will not get outbid,
Also,
and they don't want to play. They don't want to play leverage games.
By the way, I want to spotlight that comment right there. Romo 2001. The Giants are not one player away from turning this around. You're right, and they know that.
Yes.
Like I do. The Giants are not going to go get Aaron Judge and be like, "Cool, we did it."
I'd like, since we got Mark on, I would love to talk to you about some of the things with the Giants, because
Danny is our resident Giant guy.
I'm the resident Giant.
We have a record number of people in the room that are here for Christian.
Danny will give you one Giants question for Mark Willard, and then that's it. Then you're gonna have to call him at home.
I'm gonna charge you $19.99 for it. Go ahead.
All right. This is Mark. This is me, Arizona Dan, who used to call your show all the time.
Ask this question and ask it fast.
So here it is. I want to see Brandon Nimmo or Bellinger in center field next year for the Giants, and I also want to see. I think Carlos Correa would be I love Trey Turner, but Correa would be one of the either Turner or Correa they've got to get. What are your thoughts on adding Correa, Turner, and Nimmo?
I think Cody Bellinger for me would be a hard no. Nemo's a maybe, but I don't feel like they're going to spend a lot for that position if they're also going to get Judge. I do think there will be something someone brought in that is significant in the infield. Marco Luciano is not projecting as a shortstop. You can remove that. He's not going to be their shortstop of the future. He's going to either play third, maybe left, maybe DH. So it's a matter of what they feel like they can do with Brandon Crawford. Can he maneuver a little bit? Can you use the DH? Can you get creative? I think Correa is an absolute possibility. Turner, I think they're going to go for it. I just feel like Turner's going to end up back east.
Yeah.
And then we got this one from Mark Failer, $9.99. He says, how much do I need to donate to see Steiny and Willard box Murph and Mac on the next Jake Paul undercard?
I don't know. I mean, come on. Do you remember back in the days of Mike Tyson when fights were over in 30 seconds? Do you really want to pay for that? That would be that would be over fast.
I got to be honest. I think Willard's more of a lover than a fighter, but I think Willard clears that entire room.
And also, Paulie Mack may get popped on the drug testing.
Paulie will just be singing a soundtrack to the whole thing. Yeah. All right, guys.
Mark. Hey, man, you're the best, man. Hey, thanks 9 o'clock tomorrow with Dibs. I got to think what? You're talking this, right? You'll talk little Warriors Nuggets, but you'll be talking McCaffrey all morning long, huh?
Across the board. Yeah, no, There will not be Draymond can send flowers, right? Shanahan can send flowers because that's all off the table. This is going to be McCaffrey and Chiefs Niners across the board. Call in if you want, man.
All right, brother. Hey, good to see you, man. Yeah. Big fans. Have a great show tomorrow.
All right, guys.
Mark Willard checking in. Very cool. That's what I love about the stream too. Is like you can send out a text and be like, "Hey, you want to jump in? Yeah, let's jump in." Tried to get Guru. Guru's got a family situation going on tonight, so he couldn't jump in. But Guru was invited as well. And we'll get other guys on. We'll get other guys on.
This, text
we got lots of people still in the chat who want to get into this.
Instagram from Dre Greenlaw. He went on to stop by Niners Nation Instagram to say. This is what Greenlaw had to say to McCaffrey. Sorry for talking S. Can't wait to meet you, buddy. I guess.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, I mean, the Niners have, as Antonio Rosales said, Elijah Mitchell and Christian McCaffrey. Oh if you're a 49er fan, how are you feeling right now? We are an hour and 25 minutes into our live stream. The great Mark Willard from 95.7 The Game has stopped by. You can hear Willard and Dibs tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. But it's me, it's Danny, it's Rye. Rye looks like he's having a little technical issue with his line right now. But we're definitely going to get into the chat. We definitely want to hear your opinions. What does this do for the 49ers Super Bowl run this year? Does this make them the favorite over Philly in the NFC? Is that a projection? Is it about health? Is this, the 49ers have a lot of talent on their offense right now. You could argue that they don't. It's not that they lack talent. I think they lack dynamic big playability. And now this is what McCaffrey gives them.
This just makes, what I'm hoping for, and when I tweeted a few days ago was this is before McCaffrey. Go get that, win the division, try and get the 2 seed so that, but if you win the division, you got at least the 4
Only
seed.
one seed in each conference gets that bye,
they're
right?
Probably not going to get the bye. Philadelphia is, they're 3 games up. That's probably.
I don't fear rolling into Philly. Do you?
I don't either. I just would love to see him get the 2nd seed because I think what could happen is Philly could easily get knocked off in that division round, and then the Niners could host the NFC Championship if they get the 2nd. I think you get the 2nd. If you win 11, maybe you might have to win 12 games because Minnesota is the team that's probably shooting right now for the 2nd seed. They're 2 games up. They're 5-1. I see them falling off, though. I don't see them winning 13 games, 12, 13 games. So, but get in the playoffs, get a division. Just don't be a wild card. Just win the division, and you got a pretty good shot to go through the playoffs.
MF says, can Dave Fleming come on and talk Christian McCaffrey? I know Dave well, and I have Dave's cell.
Stanford Dave.
It's 10 o'clock at night.
Oh, we should get him on. Text him and say, "Hey, Dave, you on? You up? You want to come on my show? We're talking Christian McCaffrey, and then love to talk to him about the Giants too, man."
I mean, yeah, exactly. I'm also asking Todd Husak if he's still up and wants to jump on.
I might have to break out the completes tonight. This is a celebration. I might have to eat that expired completes.
I mean, it's an incredible night for sure when you think about, where the 49ers are. I mean, they're very much inside their Super Bowl window. They lacked a little dynamic nature when it came to their offense this year. And they needed this kind of dynamic player, right? It wasn't just that they needed any kind of a player. They need this kind of a player. And that's why it's such a great fit, because they know the person, and this is exactly the kind of piece to the puzzle that Shanahan can really utilize. I mean, you're essentially, I would say this. If I made you guys, and maybe we could play with this. If you're in the chat right now, if you had to rank as far as talent, top to bottom, the 49ers weapons, who's 1, who's 2, who's 3, who's 4, who's 5? You got 5 eligibles in your pattern, and you can put them all out there if you want on this team. Who's the number one weapon on this offense? Number one weapon.
Okay.
What do you think, Danny?
Wow. Probably still got to go Debo because he's been in the offense, for so long and knows it. But then I'm going to put McCaffrey 2. I will go Ayuk 3, Kittle 4, Hushek 5. Is that the 5 you were talking about in the 21 personnel?
Well, it could be anybody. Any of their. So who you're going to put first, Debo or McCaffrey?
Debo, and then McCaffrey second. And that may change in 3 weeks' time when McCaffrey becomes more familiar with the offense after the bye week. But right now, you got to go Debo, just because I think this makes Debo a bigger threat, because now, like you said, you put both those guys in the slot or you put them in motion. I mean, oh my goodness. A lot of those plays that they do when they throw the ball out to Debo out at the numbers for a quick, kind of a wide receiver screen. Now, what do you do when you pump over there and then you come to the other side and you got McCaffrey on a little swing pattern to the right side? You pump fake over to Debo, and then McCaffrey breaks
Danker
loose.
says CMC's their number one weapon. Debo would be number 2. Ayuk would be number 3. Kittle would be 4. And then Mitchell, and then Juice. They may have gotten the best weapon on their team tonight. Yeah. That right there, just even the discussion of that on a team that has weapons like Ayuk, Debo, and Kittle means that they got a really, really good football player, and it makes them so much more interesting. I think it gives them a viability for a championship this year that they would not have had without making this move. I think it gives every guy in that offense the confidence, and it sends a really, really loud message to the rest of the 49ers, which is, hey, guess what? We think we're good enough to win it all, and we believe in you guys. And so we're going to make an investment in this roster, and we're going to, we're going to go for it. We believe we got a chance to win a Super Bowl. We're inside of our window, and we believe in our locker room, and we believe in our coaching staff, and we're all in on this year.
So who's your 5, Larry?
I would say McCaffrey's number 1, and then I would probably go Debo, and then I would probably go Kittle, and then I would go Ayuk.
Okay, so we just kind of you reversed our 1 and 2 and our 3 and 4. Yeah. I mean,
Debo's really, really special, and there's just a physicality about Debo that I'll say this, from watching Debo and talking a little bit to him from time to time in the locker room, he might be the only receiver since Terrell Owens that carries himself on the football field with not an ounce of fear. I mean, not an ounce. He believes that he's going to deliver more punishment to the defender than the defender is going to bring to him. And T.O. had that belief, and there's probably a couple other guys through history, but most receivers understand that get down or, don't take the big hit. Don't subject yourself to the big hit. Debo carries himself like no fear. You want me to go across the middle? I'm not going to short arm it because I've got incredible belief in myself and I've got incredible confidence in my physicality to take any hit that could be coming my way. So I think that's significant. I really do. I think that when you have no fear and you're running across the middle, how do you intimidate a player that doesn't fear getting hit? So right. I think Debo is really special.
Here's how I can envision this trade going down tonight. They're close. And the Niners, they're offering a 2 and a 3 and maybe next year's 5th or 2024's 5th. And Carolina's like, well, we want your 4th too. Or I don't know. I'm just surmising. And Lynch and Shanahan are going, you know what? We've got this week coming up. We got the Chiefs. We got this homecoming. We got the Rams. We can't lose it. What the heck? Give them the extra pick. Just get this done tonight. I just feel like something had to happen where they wanted to get this done tonight because maybe they felt pressure coming. Another team was swooping in.
Well, there's that, right? I mean, I will say this. When there was multiple sources reporting that the 49ers were interested, the word they used, Danny, by the way? It was implicated. They used the word implicated. They used, Andy, by the way.
Hey, Christian McCaffrey is here.
Oh, I'm just a new 49er. I just wanted to say thanks for the show, guys. You guys are doing great. Keep up the good work. I was never here. Don't tell anybody, but love the podcast. More likes.
Christian,
we need more likes. If you're new tonight, and you're new because maybe you just jumped in with the news of Christian McCaffrey signing, hit that like and subscribe button. Do it right now. That's right. Hit that like and subscribe, and we're going to push us up. We want to get to 8,000 by the end of the month.
Hit the like and subscribe. Also, we've been doing this. We've been talking now for an hour and 35 minutes, and we told ourselves that we would split up the commercial. So we'll do this. We'll play one commercial here. We'll come back in 30 seconds with more of your chats and more dialogue. If you're just tuning in, Christian McCaffrey traded from the Carolina Panthers to the 49ers for a 2023 second-round pick, third-round pick, fourth-round pick, and then a 2024 fifth-round pick. But first, a word from our sponsors on the Krueger Show. Larry Krueger here for Telmetrics. Thanks to Casey Bateman and the good people at Telmetrics. If you're an occupational therapist, if you're an orthopedic surgeon, a chiropractor, a physical therapist of any kind, Telmetrics is designed for you to use in your practice and will greatly benefit your patients. Telmetrics uses computer vision and artificial intelligence and provides a platform for outpatient rehab therapy services, both in the clinical and the telehealth environments. So using Telmetrics can improve your patient's experience and much more. So for all your sports injury needs, or if you're a physical rehabilitation specialist of any kind, make sure you use telmetrics.co, TELMETRIX.co. And thanks to Casey Bateman and all the good people at Telmetrics for being a proud sponsor of the Krueger. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Dan Coccimiglio. Dan is a buddy, and he is a phenomenal retirement planning specialist. And you can contact him today at securemoney.com or at his number 925-628-9966. There's a lot of uncertainty in our world right now, and you want to make sure that your money is secure. That is the key. Danny's got 25 years of experience, born and raised right here in the Bay Area, and he can help you get an immediate 10% premium bonus on your principal retirement account. So give him a call, 925-628-9966. He'll make an appointment with you, and you can sit down. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of a deal. He'll consult with you and come up with a strategy to get you going to where you want to be. Once again, 925-628-9966, securemoney.com on the web. And thanks to Dan Coccimiglio and all the people at Secure Money for being proud sponsors of the Krueger Show. Welcome back to the Krueger Show. Larry Krueger, Dan Coccimiglio, Ryan Smith. Ryan, I think it had a little bit of a computer crash. We have reached out to a couple different people to potentially join us, so we'll see if anybody pops in on the live stream. And it would not be a complete Krueger Show live stream if Danny didn't bust out some food. Danny, what are you eating right now? Kashi, a little Kashi cereal for Dan Coccimiglio, who makes it a habit to eat.
Cinnamon, yeah, if you're new to the show,
stream.
We do these shows. Sometimes they're like tonight, kind of a spur of the moment type thing. And, I get a little hungry about 10:30. Maybe it's midnight or something. We're going and, it's home. It's an organic show. So
there you go.
I eat organic cereal on the show or something, completes or maybe break out some New York Italian sausage. I need to get a supply of that.
There you go. Yeah, seriously, stop by our good buddies New York style Italian sausage down in Sunnyvale. David says this move keeps Kyle as the head coach for at least 3 more years. Well, I'd kind of disagree with that. I mean, not that he won't be here for 3 more years, but I think he was going to be here anyway. Jonathan Chavez donates $5. This was not a good decision. Kyle is on the hot seat. He made a desperate move. We have a good running back right now. How is he going to help down the field and the draft capital? Wow. First of all, they don't have a Christian McCaffrey. There's not one running back at all that approaches what his level of dynamic nature. How would you say that word? Nobody is as dynamic as Christian McCaffrey. Elijah Mitchell's not. Jeff Wilson sure as hell isn't. Tevin Coleman isn't. J.P. Mason isn't. They don't have a back that's anything like this player. Whether Kyle's on the hot seat, I don't think Kyle's on the hot seat at all. What are you talking about? This guy's been to 2 of the last 3 NFC Championship games. You got to stop, listening to like 2 people who are just listening to themselves speak over and over and over again. There's absolutely zero indications from anybody. Believe me, I'm there. I'm in that room. I'm talking to Niner people all the time. I've got several good contacts with the team. He's not on the hot seat. He's not on the hot seat with Lynch. He's not on the hot seat with Peters. He's not on the hot seat with Jed. He's not on the hot seat with Dr. John. He is not on the hot seat. Anybody who says that he is doesn't know their head from their ass. And I don't care who said it. That's the truth. He is not on the hot seat. And to say otherwise is just absolutely asinine.
The guy just gave you $5 and you told him he doesn't know his head from.
Well, I mean, he's not on the hot seat.
No,
I don't know what live stream you're listening to. I don't know who you're talking to. I don't know who's made up what narrative they want to make up. He's not on the hot seat. Just because you got a couple bloggers talking about Sean Payton does not mean that anybody with the power to change out Kyle Shanahan is anywhere close to even considering that. So this idea that he's on the hot seat is just crap. And anybody who kind of kicks that whole story down the road, that's irresponsible journalism. As far as calling this a desperate move, I do think it's somewhat desperate from the standpoint is I think the 49ers understand that there's a desperation that's required to go forward to win a championship. You're not going to just kind of, hey, the old saying, you can't ease into a street fight. Well, you're not going to ease into a title. You're not going to be like, hey, we drafted some guys and we made some moves and hey, just turns out we were the best team. Nope. Doesn't come that easy. You're going to have to fight and claw for everything, and it's a super competitive endeavor. And then to say we have a good running back now, Jeff Wilson and Tevin Coleman are their backs right now. Jeff is solid. Tevin's solid. This guy's a star. I mean, there's this night and day difference. And as far as the draft capital, they're going to get a lot of draft capital in picks for compensation picks for losing minority coaches, and they've proven they can do it after the draft. So I think this is a phenomenal move. I really do.
Yeah, and who's this clown here? Not on the hot seat, 6 years in with a losing record. You're a head ass. Dude, the guy's
I'm a head ass. What does that mean? Hey, you know what? Just because the guy's got a losing record, I mean, let's be honest about this. He took over
2 years.
The first 2 years, they were dramatically under 500. Then they're about 10 games over 500
Super Bowl.
since.
And then they have a bad
Super Bowl.
year in 2020 with injuries to Kittle and Garoppolo.
And who's
They come
putting him
back.
on the hot seat? The only person that can put him
He
on the
goes to
hot
the
seat is
NFC
Jed.
Championship game.
You really think Jed is on the verge of dumping Kyle Shanahan?
Oh, come on.
I mean, why? I mean, show me anybody with any credibility who's ever even suggested as much. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm here, and I'll be waiting for your reply. Okay, we got Vicky Boone. She says, I'm sick and tired of not scoring in the red zone. This answers that problem. Love the move. That's another issue. You know, the 49ers, they've got to be able to score touchdowns in the red zone to beat the Phillies, to beat the Buffaloes, to beat the Kansas Cities of the world. You can't kick field goals in the red zone. You got to score touchdowns. McCaffrey should help them in that area. Don't you think, Danny?
Oh, yeah. No doubt. No doubt. Ryan just texted, unbelievable timing. His internet went out. Oh, man. How frustrating.
Ryan, get back, buddy. Get back.
He's
McCorkle,
with his
Vegemite
internet.
Jones. I think it's those Italian sausages putting him on the hot seat. Yeah, exactly.
Hey, and
Here we go.
I
go.
believe-
We grew up with a Sunday dinner.
Yeah, there's your hot seat. No, come
Yeah.
on. He's not on the hot seat. If John Lynch says he's on the hot seat, maybe he's on the hot seat. If Jed York says he's on the hot seat, maybe he's on the hot seat. But the reality is that Kyle Shanahan is whether you think there are people that think he's a top tier coach, like as good as it gets. I'll hold that off for guys like Belichick and Reed and guys who have proven it and have winning records and have Super Bowls. But there's no doubt if every NFL head coach in the entire league was cut today and they were all on the street as free agents, Kyle Shanahan would get a top 5 contract. Do you agree, Danny?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Top
Hey,
5.
and Carlo P., I know you're out there listening. I saw you make a comment a few minutes ago. Carlo, I know you got McCaffrey in our fantasy league. I'll give you Jonathan Taylor for him right now.
You're going to trade Jonathan Taylor for McCaffrey?
Sure.
Jonathan Taylor's hurt right now. Don't make that trade.
He's not. He's playing. He'll be playing Sunday.
He's been hurt.
No, but he's full strength now.
Don't you
Full
pass off
strength.
damaged goods on Carlo P.
I'll
Danny's
give
in last place in the fantasy league.
No,
He's
I'm
trying to
not.
make
You
trades.
are. No, Ryan is, and you're behind me. So come on.
What? We're all in the bottom?
We're in the bottom. Let me show you the standing. You want to see the standings?
I was down there this week. I've lost a couple in a row.
Look at that. Can you? Well, you can't see that, can you?
Yeah, but what's the name of your team?
Tech Savvy Stormtroopers.
And what's the bottom team?
Ryan's remarkable team.
Yeah, there you go. The Kruegerans are right down there as well. Jonathan Chavez says, here's $5. Just here's $5. That's it. That's it. Just $5. There you go. No particular reason for it. Just here it is. Clarence Molina says, here's $5. Excellent trade. We did the FM picks without giving up regular draft picks. Most of those picks are the comp picks from losing coaches and staff. You're going to get multiple 3rd round picks in your compensatory selections. So, so you're going to add a couple 3rd round picks and you're going to wind up trading a 2, a 3, and a 4 next year. And let's say you get 2 3s. So you're not going to have your 1, you're not going to have your 2. You're going to have probably 1 or 2 3rd round picks because of the compensatory picks.
Yeah, they're going to have 2 3s next year, and
a 5, a 6, and a 7.
6 and a 7, or maybe I don't even know if they have a 6. They might
have 2 7s.
Yeah,
I'd have to see that. I'd have to check that out.
They'll have 2 3rds, a 5th, and a 7th, 6th, 7th. They're going to have 4 or 5 at least, and if they make them all solid picks, that's about all they have room for to make the team. I mean, when you're this stacked with a lot of young guys, they're not heavily, over the top veterans. I mean, they've had 2 or 3 recent drafts where, they've hit 5, 6, 7 guys.
Oh, yeah. We could go right down the list if we wanted here. I mean, just, if you want to take a look at the 49er
take a look here.
roster, I mean, just take a look at go to Our Lads and check out their depth chart. That's probably the best spot to go check out depth charts, by the way, is Our Lads. OURLADS.
I got it right here.
And if you look at the Niners, let's just roll through it for just a second. Okay.
Chart.
Here's Jawan Jennings, day 3 pick. Jalen Moore, day 3 pick.
Which one you're looking at the
Spencer Burford, day 3 pick. Nick Sakel, day 3 pick. These are guys on the roster right now. Charlie Warner, day 3 pick. Ross Dwelly, undrafted free agent. Brock Purdy, day 3 pick. Jeff Wilson, undrafted free agent. Jordan Mason, undrafted free agent.
Yeah.
I mean, you see what I'm saying? They find guys.
It goes on. Womack.
Womack is a day 3 pick.
Yeah.
Kevin Givens was an undrafted free agent.
Aziz
Al-Shaair was an undrafted free agent.
Yeah. McKivitz was a fifth. What was he?
He was a 5th round pick.
Yeah. Another.
But I mean, look at the guys that they've taken. I mean, they've gotten a lot of mileage out of day 3 picks and undrafted free agents, and then guys like just on this roster alone on the practice squad, Quantrez Knight, they really like him, undrafted free agent. Marcelino McCrary Ball, they really like him, undrafted free agent. So they find guys. Tay Martin, wide receiver, undrafted free agent, he can play. Jason Poe, former or future interior starting lineman, undrafted free agent. So Kalia Davis, who was a really nice player, nobody's heard of him yet because he hasn't hit the field. Day 3 draft choice, Elijah Mitchell, 6th round pick. DJ Jones is no longer here, but he was a 6th round pick. I mean, do you see what I'm saying? This team has a way of finding. Emmanuel Mosley was an undrafted free agent, for crying out loud. They do a great job in the draft, day 3, and after the draft. So because when you're doing that, then that means you can take some chances. You can take some chances with your top picks. And I like this because there's no risk here. You're getting a great player. Christian McCaffrey is a proven great player. Those picks, you don't know. You might hit, you might not. Yeah, but you're getting a Pro Bowl caliber player here right now.
Absolutely. Here's the odds. Sean Proctor just texted me the odds before and after the trade, and to win the Super Bowl, they were before plus 1,800. Now they're plus 1,400. Man, I got them a couple weeks ago.
So they're 14 to 1. They were 18 to 1.
Yeah, I got them at 1,400 a couple of weeks ago. I guess with the loss to the Falcons, it must have made the odds worse, but win the conference was plus 700. Now it's plus 600. Not a huge change. Win the division plus 105. Now it's minus 110. So, I mean, definitely improved the odds. So the odds makers, I think they're better than that personally, because, right now they're factoring in probably their record and who they've lost to. But what they're not factoring in is all those injuries. And those guys are coming back. I mean, the only
except
one
for Mosley,
yeah, that's the only one. But if Verrett comes back and Verrett is anywhere near what he was 2 years ago, I mean, gosh, he was one of the best corner covers.
Oh, he's a Pro Bowl caliber corner. Yeah. He's just always hurt.
Yeah, exactly. If he can give them, 10 to 12, 13 games, stay healthy, there's not a big drop off there. I mean, Verrett's not only a great corner guy, but he's a great tackler.
Well, and he's got Pro Bowl feet. He's really great change of direction. I mean, he's a very dependable corner who's just had a lot of physical problems and hasn't been able to stay on the field. But more than anything, they just needed to be. Their defense is good. This defense is, I don't know if it's historic good, but it's good. We all know that. And so their window is open, and then the NFC is wide open. And then you had the teams that were competing for a Super Bowl, at least 2 of them in the Rams and the Bills, also reportedly in the mix in the trade market for this player. So if Buffalo had added this player, I think that helps them win the Super Bowl. If the Rams added this player, I think it helps them make the playoffs and compete for a Super Bowl. And for the 49ers to add this player, I think it absolutely makes them a much stronger Super Bowl contender. The Krueger Show says, Larry, this is Ryan. My internet went out and I'm on the mean streets of Lafayette, California, searching for service. Oh my goodness. Hit Panera. Hit Panera. Get to a Panera, kid. Eddie K says Danny is an evil genius. I think he's talking about your trade.
Genius.
Here we go. We got this one. Mercedes, BMW, Porsche. Dan's trying a Hail Mary to save his fantasy season.
Oh, man.
GTC Reels. Danny, nobody cares. Oh, people care. People do care. They absolutely do.
What's this? Who put that out? Ryan? Dan, I can't believe how much of a Kyle Shanahan you are. Oh, what because of the proposed trade?
I'm not sure where that's coming from.
I don't know.
Bruce Adams, McCaffrey matches up well with Jimmy's passing capabilities. Bingo. That's what I was saying before, Brad. Jimmy might not have his downfield throw hangs a little bit. He absolutely threw a perfect dime to Ray. Ray dropped it. Ray's ball skills are a little questionable. Danny Gray's maturity is, called into question. Some rookies get it, some don't. Think about how many rookie receivers don't do jack. Well, why is that? Because it's a position where you can get away with talent in college, and in the pros, you do not get away with talent. Everything you do in the pros, they're studying. If you're breaking the huddle and you don't look like the ball's coming your way, that's a tell. If you normally, cinch up your gloves when the ball's coming your way before, pass plays, and you don't cinch up your gloves, that's a tell. There's just so many things that receivers have to be aware of that the defense is looking at, and there's several young receivers that give away plays in the NFL because they don't understand all the nuances that go into it. So rookie receivers don't do a whole lot. Have you noticed that? For every Randy Moss, there's a million guys who don't do anything.
The only guy that really
I love Danny Gray, but it may not happen this year. He may not be ready.
Yeah.
He may not be ready. And Ray might not be ready either. And they need a dynamic weapon. And McCaffrey is the most dynamic weapon out there. And he's incredibly useful. He's versatile. They know his makeup as a person. They know how he'll fit into the room. I think it's a slam dunk from every way imaginable. I can't see it. The only way this is not a good deal is if somehow they ran McCaffrey between the tackles consistently and he got hurt. Then it would be like, all right, why? Why did you run him up the A gap 5 times and, let him take a shoulder stinger? It's utilization. How do they utilize him? If they can utilize what he's best at, get him isolated in space against defenders, potentially you get McCaffrey isolated in space on any linebacker. If you make that throw, that's a touchdown. So I think this is a huge change in how dynamic the 49ers are.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of the chats are moving fast. It's hard to.
Well, Mikey P says, Larry, you're not a fan. What is it? Wait, hold on a second.
Oops, let me turn.
Yeah, hold on, Danny. Says Mikey P. Larry, you're not a fan, so you have to understand there is a section of fans tired of Shanahan play calling. I'd say it's 50-50. Debo saved the team last year. Christian McCaffrey this year. Mikey, you're wrong. I am a fan. I absolutely am a fan. I grew up in the Sunset District as a huge Niner fan. I've been a Niner fan my entire life. Just because I happen to work in the media now doesn't mean I'm no longer a Niner fan. I absolutely am a Niner fan. I try not to let it bleed into my coverage of the team, but absolutely, I'm very much a Niner fan. So I do understand that there are fans who are tired of Kyle's play calling, but like anything else, I'm not giving him excuses. I'm just saying that, they've lost some people in the room. They've lost some players. They've lost some coaches. Every year you need to kind of reinvent yourself as a player, as a coach, as an offensive staff. And they're in the process of reinventing themselves this year. And that's what it's all about. They lost a really good coach in Mike McDaniel. They lost a couple of really good offensive coaches. They've gone this year with, the last couple of weeks with no Trent Williams. He's the best offensive lineman in football. You can't take away the best offensive lineman in football and not miss that. McGlinchey's dinged up. They haven't had Elijah Mitchell, who's their star back. I mean, they ran it pretty effectively with Mitchell. They've struggled at times without Mitchell. So I understand that fans are tired of Shanahan's play calling, but Shanahan didn't just lose it. Shanahan's not, some guy at the end of his career. He's his play calling. I think, it's just about feel, and it's about, getting into a flow. I felt like that drive in the second half of the game at the, their second to last drive, they clearly needed to go faster and they didn't. And that's on him, and he has to own it. But as far as the creativity in his play calling, as far as, I'll say this, I'm in that room. Those offensive players think he's a guru, that he's a genius. They have total confidence in his play calling ability. So, and these are guys who know an awful lot more about the game plan and about, where he sits in the grand scheme of things than the average fan. So I would say, yeah. Have they started slowly? Yeah. Do they look like they lack dynamic playmakers on offense? Yeah, they do. And I'm eager to see what they look like with this player.
One of the things I want to point out is, Kyle has been trying to get, a lot of people say, well, Kyle's offense hasn't been this, that. What he got tonight in McCaffrey gives him what he had in 2016 with the Falcons. Listen to the Falcons roster. What he had at the position. We had
young Tevin Coleman,
and he had Jones and Sanu and Muhammad Sanu in his prime, and then he had in the backfield he had Freeman and Coleman,
Devontae Freeman, and Tevin Coleman, who could catch it. They were both younger, very dynamic.
Right. So now that's kind of what he had. He has that now because he's got Debo and Ayuk, and now he's got in the backfield Juszczyk and McCaffrey. You might even see where you see a double set with Coleman and McCaffrey back there at the same time, or a Wilson and McCaffrey. You're going to see more of, I believe, what the Falcons were able to do in 2016.
Yeah, and that Falcon team, Danny, you probably remember this. They set the NFL record for yards created on first down. I think they averaged like 8.2 yards on first down. It was the best in the entire league. Mm-hmm. So that means every time they were looking at 2nd and 1, 2nd and 2.
Yeah,
and that's the most dangerous. That's the most dangerous down and distance for any defensive coordinator to defend. 2nd and 1. Why? Because everything's available, from quarterback sneak to the Hail Mary.
What if McCaffrey is your upgraded version of Tevin Coleman back when Coleman was a star with the Falcons in the Super Bowl, and all of a sudden now your Devontae Freeman becomes TDP.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, Robert Jorgensen says with Christian McCaffrey being traded for today and Elijah Mitchell coming back, what happens to Jeff Wilson? Well, first of all, I mean, you can never have enough good backs.
Yeah. Wilson's going nowhere.
He's going nowhere. He runs hard. He runs between the tackles. He does have 8 career fumbles, though, and he's never really been the number one back on a championship team or a star on an elite team. So maybe they looked at him and said, "Hey, workman-like player that can help us get from point A to point B, but not a superstar." Well, and if that was their evaluation, I think it's the right one.
I mean, look at TDP was in the backfield against the Falcons last week on one play. He was a lead blocker on a sweep. What happens if you start getting TDP in there in the backfield, giving Juszczyk a break, because he's a big guy. He's a run between the tackles type back, and if he's getting good at blocking, wow, you could have, all of a sudden. You've got, whole different schemes that you're running now because you got skill guys at both positions in the backfield. Put one of them, all of a sudden McCaffrey's back there, he goes in motion, or just all kinds of things that you're going to see some of the creativity you haven't seen in a while, I believe, start to take shape over the next second half of this season.
Well, and also you're getting Christian McCaffrey in literally the prime of his career. You're going to get the best that he has to offer. Which is, that means he's going to be a runner, a receiver, gadget plays, special teams. I mean, you have dynamic big playability now that you didn't have yesterday. Balboa Becker says, excitement aside, here comes the negative. We still have Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy Garoppolo, both of whom can't close a big game. Yeah, Christian McCaffrey helps. It doesn't change the coach and the quarterback's inability to win a close game in the biggest moments. You know what? You haven't done it till you've done it. So I'm not going to sit there and say those guys have done it. They've won some big games, but they haven't won a Super Bowl. They haven't won the biggest game, right? So I'm not going to sit there and say they can do it. But we'll see. We'll see what they can do. The Krueger show says, should Kyle be fired if he doesn't make a Super Bowl with this stacked roster? That's an interesting question. What do you think, Danny? I mean, that we're in this mode now where it's the all or nothing world. It's like you either win it all or you're out. And when your standards are that high, then it doesn't allow for there's not a lot of nuance to your season, right? Because you either won and won it all and have the ring and win the championship, or you failed. You know what I mean? You failed.
I don't see him going anywhere. I don't see now. The only talk that could ever happen if they didn't have any more serious injuries and they failed to even make the playoffs with this roster, then you're going to have a lot of uproar.
Yeah. But, you're eliminating the excuses for sure. I mean, there are no excuses for not having success. And that's what I love about it is that, you know what? They're not sitting there going, you know what? We better not make this move because then there's going to be expectations. They have their own expectations. Yeah. See, that's the part that people don't talk about. They expect to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
John Lynch is expecting to win.
They're not playing just to get in the playoffs. This is a team that has, and as far as answering that question, no, if they don't win the Super Bowl, I don't see any way they would fire Kyle. I mean, the only way anything like that could
he's
ever
here.
happen,
he's here and he's going to be here.
Yeah, exactly. He ain't going anywhere. The only thing that
this team had Chip Kelly, they had Dennis Erickson, they had Jimmy T, they had they've had some lean years. They've been in the NFC Championship game in 2 of the last 3 years. I think they've got to be relatively satisfied with that. Not totally satisfied because the standard's still Super Bowls, but they want to progress towards winning a Super Bowl. But I don't think that there's a big difference between they're not satisfied with anything besides the Super Bowl and they're going to fire the coach.
Right.
And that, you know what I mean? Bomber T says, Larry's a big time Niner fan. Thank you. Thank you. Somebody stands up and says the truth. Robert Jorgensen, the Niners depend on Yak and Christian improves that. No question. He's a Yak monster. He's a big time yacker. Jonathan Chavez, he's been reinventing himself for 6 years. Well, there's people that are very frustrated with Shanahan. I can understand that. Kyle McKiernan, Larry isn't a fan. He was born in San Francisco like me and my family, LOL. You can't school him. How long have you been listening to him? Tonight, that's it? Thank you, Kyle. Look at that.
People I think you needed a question mark after the I know. Or something. Larry isn't a fan.
Yeah, may have needed some punctuation there. Krug Show, it says, embrace debate. Is Kyle a top 7 coach in the NFL? That's about where he is. That's about where he is. About top 7. That's where I'd put him. Danker, the fans who scrutinize Shanahan should maybe start with the quarterback's ability and realize Shanahan is carrying Jimmy Garoppolo. What do you think, Danny? Is Shanahan carrying Garoppolo? Is Garoppolo carrying Shanahan? How do you see it?
Oh, I don't think either one's carrying. I think they're completely independent of one another. I don't see Garoppolo is like so awful that he needs Shanahan. And I think Shanahan has actually, a lot of people have been all over Garoppolo and all over Shanahan. To me, you can't, that's an oxymoron. You can't be all over Shanahan or Garoppolo and say that Shanahan is a terrible coach. If he got with a terrible quarterback, he got him to a Super Bowl and an NFC. To me, that makes Kyle look like a really good coach. Now, if you're saying Kyle's horrible, then you got to say Jimmy's great, because you can't. I mean, he's got to the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship with him. So you see what I'm saying? Can't be both. Can't be both.
Yeah. He can't be this guy that has this great record with Garoppolo, and then Garoppolo's terrible, but he's great. Or Garoppolo's terrible and Kyle's no good. Somebody had to be good, right? They won all these games together. Somebody had to be good. Jaguayo 56 after picks to Carolina. What picks do we have left? I think Danny said it. I think it's 2 3s, a 5, a 6, and a 7 this year.
Right? I'm not sure about. I know it's.
I think it's 2 3s. I think
a 5 and a 7. I'm not sure if there's a 6 in there. I'll have to.
Well, we can look that up.
Yeah.
But that's it's basically going to be slim pickings. But you know what? This year they had no number 1, and look at the draft haul. Look at the draft haul that they had this year. Mikey Pieces. Thanks for the response, Larry. Absolutely, Mikey. Kelch Chronicles. This is the spark. This is the effing spark. Let's effing go. Faithful. Yes, go on a run and take it. Christian McCaffrey in those holes. That sounds a little dirty. But yes, Kelch Chronicles. 3rd and 5th. It's just 3rd and a 5th, Jaguayo. So that's all they have, 3rd and a 5th. So they might, if they have a 3rd and a 5th, that means they're probably going to have 3 thirds, because they're going to have a couple compensatory thirds coming up.
I don't.
That might be the case.
I don't know if they have a 3rd until
Kyle McKiernan says, I didn't know Tim Ryan had a podcast. I'm not sure if Tim does. We can try to chase Tim down, though. We got this one from Mitchell and Ness. No excuses for Kyle. I don't think Kyle's looking for excuses at this point. I think he just wants to get it done. GTC Reels. I egged Larry's house on Halloween. He beat me up screaming Montana. He's a super fan. That makes me laugh. GTC Reels. Of course, it's not true. Chris B. Jimmy will always be an excuse. I don't know. At times Jimmy looks really good. At times he looks really, really good. Danker, like I said, the Shanahan systems guy is a running back, not a quarterback. Well, the running is a big part of his offense, and the play action game off of his run game. This the run pass fusion, as Greg Cosell calls it, is a huge part of what makes Kyle Kyle. The Krueger show. Should Kyle be fired if he doesn't make a Super Bowl with this stacked roster? I think we asked that one before. I would say eventually you're going to hold his feet to the fire eventually. But, come on, you're going to have to see him. Right now they're still building. They've got a tremendous roster. Let's see if they can get it done. If they have to tear it all down and rebuild without winning that Super Bowl, there'll be a lot of people questioning the viability long-term of Kyle Shanahan. Absolutely. And it probably will be a fair question. Bradley Adams or Brad's Adams says, is McDaniel going to come back to be the head coach of the 49ers? Mike McDaniel? I don't see it. He seems like, didn't he just get a long-term deal in Miami?
I'm not sure what he signed, but yeah.
He says that's why Mooch was brought in. Poor Mooch picked the wrong quarterback. Aaron Backstrom donates $5. Krug, do you see Christian McCaffrey being utilized in the slot more than in the backfield? I do. I think at first they will use him more out of the slot than in the backfield. Get him in space. The thing about Christian McCaffrey is on this team. Let's talk about that for a second. Where do you think Christian McCaffrey is best utilized on this team? I would think he's best utilized as a receiver lined up outside, either a slot receiver or an outside receiver. But I think, as a running back flexed out in the pass game, I think that's where he's used best. Get him in space, get him isolated in space to somebody who runs 4.6 and watch him toast him for a touchdown.
How about Danny Gray out on the, out wide, and he runs a go pattern while
runs off the coverage a little bit
while you're doing a putting Debo and McCaffrey in what looks like a double reverse, and Jimmy fakes to them, and the defense is frozen because they're all coming up waiting for the reverse, and Gray just blows past his guy. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do with when you have those two guys, McCaffrey and Debo, in motion. I mean, I
like this too, Danny, because I hate to say this because he hasn't done it in a Niner uniform, but I don't trust Ray McCloud, because Ray McCloud fumbled 6 times last year. And to me, if they start using him and he starts fumbling, man, there's going to be a lot of unhappy people there. And then Danny Gray's very raw. I
know they got Ray McCloud for special teams, for punt returns and kickoffs. Right. But who's the backup to that position? Who is the guy that was in preseason that was doing some of that? I mean, is he on the?
Well, as the kick returner, Ray McCloud's your number one punt returner and your number one kick returner.
Yeah.
So backup kick returner is Danny Gray. Your backup punt returner is Brandon Ayuk.
Okay, because I was just thinking. I mean, if you've got the ability to create another spot, and if that's all you're going to be using him for, if you can get a much better receiver, my goodness, Ray McCloud becomes somewhat more of expendable, or not a guy that's up on the game day rosters. Maybe he's still part of the 53, but you have somebody else in there.
Eric Hernandez says Kyle won't get fired unless they can't make the postseason. I mean, yeah, if they don't make the postseason, all bets are off. Who knows?
That's what I was saying. If they don't make the postseason, they don't have injuries. I mean, let's say they've got all their guys and they're healthy and they're just losing games because they look miserable. Yeah, I mean, that's your only chance. Even then, I don't think it would happen this year. I mean, I think he'd get another year. Here's what they have for their draft picks after the trade.
Yeah, what do you got?
They've got two third rounders. I'm going
to write this down.
Okay.
I'm busting out the Sharpie, Danny. Okay. 2/3.
They got 2/3 for losing coaches Robert Saleh, Martin Mayhew, and McDaniel, but have traded away their original third rounders. So they got 2 left. They've got 2 5th-round picks and a 6th round and 4 7th-round picks. And this is according to DraftKings. It says, what picks do the Niners have after the McCaffrey trade? So I don't know how accurate that is, but if they've got 4 7th-round picks plus 2,
they have 9 picks.
I mean, that's plenty.
They have 9 picks.
Yeah.
That is plenty. You got 2/3, 2/5, a 6, and 4 7ths, and you're really good at finding guys after the draft. That's enough. Yeah. It's enough right there.
Right. And I don't know if that's accurate, if that's accurate, that's huge.
Yeah. I mean, that's a perfect illustration of why you make a trade like this, because you're fortified. And you also have one of the deepest, youngest rosters in the league. I mean, that's really it. You got 13 or 14 rookies that are going to make your team or your practice squad this year. Next year, some of those guys are going to grow up and get better.
Oh, yeah.
So when you have a 13 or 14 member draft class, guess what? That sets you up. I mean, if you want to say what's the greatest run in the history of the San Francisco 49ers,
80s.
It's 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92. Wow. It's the late 80s, early 90s. Well, what was at the beginning of that? 85, Jerry Rice, 86 draft was stacked. It was Bill Walsh and John McVay's best draft. And they got 8 starters out of that 86 draft. They got 14 players that are currently with them, I believe, out of this 2022 draft. So they're uniquely positioned to not need the mass number of picks. Heck, there's no way they could have had that many picks make their roster.
I'll just tell you how good their draft picks were this year. They cut Trey Sermon, basically.
Right.
I mean, they cut Trey Sermon and JaMychal Hasty, who were, Hasty
just had a 60-yard run for the Jags.
I mean, who else did they let a couple other guys.
Oh, there was good linebackers. There was good D linemen. They were stacked on all three levels of their defense. They were loaded at running back. They were loaded at wide receiver. I mean, they were really, really deep. And so when you have that kind of year that they had this year, it's the perfect time to go get the great player. I mean, that's what made the Niners so great in the late 80s. They had gotten Jerry. Jerry became a force of nature, and then they had depth because of the 86 draft. Well, they have plenty of depth right now, and in some ways, this is their Jerry, right? This is their big play guy. This is their difference maker. And the combination of the 2022 draft providing all the depth, and then potentially, let's say, Trey and this trade now for McCaffrey providing, superstar skill, potential at least. That's how you win multiple championships. Yeah. Danker says it's crazy how people are pumped for McCaffrey, but they're on the fence with Shanahan when everyone knows the system starts with the running back. Yeah, I just think right now, I mean, the Shanahan just had a game where they were favored. They should have won. They lost. I thought he got out-coached. I thought they didn't show enough urgency in the fourth quarter. Everybody saw it. Now you got the Chiefs rolling in. The standards are high. He's in his sixth year. His record is sub 500. And there's just a lot of people that are getting impatient with Kyle Shanahan. All the more reason to make a move like this, right, Tanny? Just the fact that you got some people that are losing patience with the regime.
Yeah. Hey, some of the other things that are running through my mind right now, I don't know if they're done or not as far as making moves. I mean, the trade deadline's not till November 1st, and then you got Odell Beckham Jr. out there as a free agent who can sign anywhere. Does this have a
what else would you like to add? I mean, to me, William Jackson's interesting from the Commanders, the corner, just because I think, you always need corners. Marquise Haynes is interesting from Carolina. Obviously Burns, but if they were going to get those guys, they would have gotten them in this trade.
Where I want to see him go is, you've got the skill positions. I want to see the offensive line beefed up, and maybe a defensive tackle. If Armstead is going to be iffy and Kinlaw's may not be coming back, I want to see someone, in the trenches there, and an interior, O-lineman, another strong guard or center.
The thing is, they drafted some young linemen they really like. Like, they really like Jalen Moore. Chris Forster was talking today. They really like some of their young guys.
Zakel, yeah.
They like Poe. They like their young linemen.
Is Poe eligible to come off, or is he out for the whole year?
No, he's on the practice squad. He's there. He's ready to roll. He's practicing.
Because, that's a guy who I would be working out at center.
Well, believe me, if Brendel continues to struggle with 3 key penalties in the fourth quarter of key drives, and even Chris Forster, the O-line coach, said it to us today. He's like, everybody's being evaluated. It's like, if these guys slip at all, we got guys on the bench who are ready to play, ready to slide in there. And he referenced Jalen Moore and Brunskill and others.
Let me ask you this. I know guys have, they retire, and once they're retired, they're kind of done. But could you, because the center position is so important to the offense, they call all the plays. They're calling, they're basically the leader of the offensive line, right? Center. So I can't really see Poe being the guy. But could you get to a situation?
Well, it's funny because the Lynch pointed out earlier that they don't feel like they put so much on the center where a young center could not be introduced.
Interesting. I was just wondering if could you convince a Mac to come out of retirement for the last 5-6 games.
Alex Mack.
Alex Mack, and get in shape over the next couple of months and say, hey, we just want to see you play the last 4-5 regular season games and take us through the playoffs. Could that be something that, I mean,
I don't think that's totally, it really depends. Some guys shut it down and they stop lifting and they drop, 20 pounds of muscle and within 3-4 weeks of not training, they're not really the same body as they were before. I don't know what Alex Mack's walk around.
Or JC.
I don't know what his walk around weight is. You know what I mean?
Right.
He played at 300, but was his walk around weight 290? Could he get up to 300, or is his walk around weight 275? And there's no chance in hell that he's going to be able to get it going. Right. But that's an interesting one, Danny, because we've seen it before. I think Bart Oates might have been a guy who, was on the street and then came out of retirement. I will say this though,
the Rams,
if I'm going to trade for a guy, if I'm going to trade for anybody, I want edge pieces. I either want edge rushers, I want perimeter players, I want receivers, I want corners, I want guys who handle the football. I don't want guards. I don't want centers. Because I feel like I can plug and play a number of different players in those spots and get by. But I don't think you can fake it on the corner. And I don't think you can fake it. There's nobody that they could get that they could say, this guy will give us a reasonable facsimile of Christian McCaffrey. No. But Tom Compton was your right tackle and you almost went to the Super Bowl with him. Right. So, the Niners won the first Super Bowl in 81. They had Dan Audick, who was weighing 258 pounds, playing, I think, left guard. So it's just, injuries happen. I really think you can plug in guys. Now, whoever's you're going to plug in at guard this week has to deal with Chris Jones, and that's no picnic. But I think you can get by with an interior lineman or even a tackle that's not, premier. But if you don't have top tier corners, you're cooked. If you don't have playmakers, you're cooked. So from that perspective, I like the fact that they got a player who's healthy, who they can probably plug in right away and maybe can make a difference right away. So Balboa Becker says, I love the positivity, Krueger. As a fan, I hope the move pans out. We're all eager to get number 6 by any means necessary. I think that's really it. I think, think about it. When you say the 49ers last Super Bowl win, and you got to go back to 1994, that's a long time ago. That is a long time ago. We're talking about 3 decades ago. There's people walking around who have children that have never seen the Niners win the Super Bowl. They got to get that. They got to get,
Ryan,
they got. Well, I don't know if he's got children, but they've got. Don't get make Ryan nervous now. But no, it's go time. It's go time. And this, believe me, if John Lynch gets this win, if Kyle Shanahan gets this win, I think they're kind of like made men. I think they know it.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've all seen McCaffrey, busted up the middle for 60, 80-yard runs. We've seen him just unbelievable route running, cuts, swing passes, takes it, that's why he's what is he rated in fantasy? Like number 3 overall, something like that. Top 5 for sure.
Definitely top 5. Yeah.
So you're getting a guy that's a playmaker. That does a lot of things on the field to get yards and gets touchdowns. And I'm glad, I'm thrilled they're going to use him Sunday for the red zone packages.
Yeah. California _Niner says, is Christian McCaffrey playing on Sunday? Well, Ian Rappaport has released the information that he is going to play in certain packages, right? Is that what it was? Certain packages on the goal line or in the red zone? Yeah. So they'll ease him in. Bomber T says Christian McCaffrey's a great fit. Can't wait to see him play in a 49er uniform. Let's be excited about this. If you're not excited about this, I got to wonder, do you understand what kind of player this is? This is a truly great player, I think. It's funny. We got this one. What do you think of this, Danny? Dusty Gold says, I think Kyle and Lynch got inspired by the Warriors ring ceremony. Get Christian McCaffrey and go for it now. I mean, there is something to be said for, winning championships.
Hey,
that's what it's about.
It's contagious. You're competing for that market share. Okay. I mean, there's guys that, we saw with the Giants become irrelevant this year, this year, after 49er camp opened. They just basically, were not a factor anywhere at the gates, at concessions, in the media. They basically, after the first week after the All-Star break, people tuned out, and once they lost the first 8 after the break, and it was kind of like, okay, now you're dealing with the Niners. And then, as I said a couple weeks ago, the bye week that the 49ers have coming up in November?
I think it's week 9. It's coming up, right? A couple 3 weeks away.
Let me look.
Or is it later?
It's November. What's maybe someone in the chat?
Today is October 20th. By the way, happy birthday to my older brother, Chris. Happy birthday, big boy. Love you, brother. Probably not watching this, but the judge. Happy birthday to the judge in Sacramento.
Yeah, man. Speaking of San Francisco, Sacramento, tough loss last night for the Kings, man, to the Trailblazers.
Well, you know what happened? You know what happened? I bet him. That's the kiss of death. If I wager on you, you're going down. You're going down in a heap. Carlo P says, will Dan renew his Giants season tickets?
Well, this is what I'm talking about here. Coming up here, the Niners schedule. Here's what they have. Okay. So they've got the Chiefs this week. Then they got the Rams on the 30th, and then they have their bye week.
Maybe they got word too that the Rams were really serious about jumpstarting their year with the addition of McCaffrey.
Sure, absolutely, and the Rams beat them with Stafford. You heard Stafford come out the other day, said, "I thought I was going to San Francisco." Did you hear that?
And what happens if let's be honest here, the Niners need a win this week. If they don't get it this week, they got to have it next week. They can't lose this week and next week. Could you imagine the disaster if they lose to Kansas City this week and then somehow they had to play the Rams in LA next week and the Rams had just traded for Christian McCaffrey?
Oh, yeah, it'd be crazy. So I think
Cooper Kupp and Christian McCaffrey on the same team.
Oh man. So here's what we got. Niners play the Chiefs this week. Then they go down to LA. Then they got a bye, and then they're home to the Chargers on November 13th. So what's happening in that between those two games, between the Rams and the Chargers, is free agency. And you just tweeted out, we talked about Aaron Judge. Now, with the pressure of the 49ers becoming, the talk, and we know the Warriors are the talk. So now you got the Niners and the Warriors dominating the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And what does Farhan and the Giants need to do to get on that, get in that sign Aaron Judge? And I think
we'll see if it happens.
I think if they sign Judge, I don't think it drags on. I think they try and sign him that week.
You know what? I'll say this on the Judge front. I don't think they're going to be able to sign Aaron Judge unless they demonstrate that they have big money for another big time guy. Like they might get Aaron Judge, but they may have to go with Carlos Correa first.
Well, they need to get
They
both.
may have to lure Judge with another free agent signing.
Well, maybe they're talking to both. I don't know if Correa's agent is Scott Boros, but if it is, let's get a 2-for-1 deal done.
Maybe you go Correa at short, you move Crawford to third, you sign Judge to play right. And there you go.
Yeah, I mean,
I like Carlos Correa, and he's only 27.
Yeah.
Sergio Martinez donates $2. He says, will this 49er roster attract a quarterback next year? It's Trey Lance. Trey Lance is their quarterback next year.
Yeah.
Unless you know something I don't know, Sergio. Trey Lance is their quarterback next year.
Yeah.
Right, Danny? Am I missing something?
Oh, no, I think he's their quarterback. I don't see any way they are able, even if Jimmy wins the Super Bowl, unless Jimmy's willing to take a super low contract, I don't see how it comes back, because Jimmy wins the Super Bowl, Niners win, and Jimmy wins because he's going to go get a big contract somewhere else.
Fozzie says, "Open the phone lines, Larry." Danny, you know how to take some phone calls?
I don't, man. Rye's the only one that knows how
Rye's
to do
our
that.
guy who basically takes phone calls.
And his internet ran out. I've got a tweet here I could play here. That
I'd love to take some phone calls because I'd love to have people call up and tell us what they think of this.
I can
get over 500 people still in the chat. We're almost closing in on 2.5 hours of live.
I can play this and play this 1 minute 13-second tweet from this guy. He was on our show, and he's promoting 95. We can promote 95.7 The Game for tomorrow morning too.
We already did. Check out Willard and Dibbs tomorrow morning at 9.
I haven't listened to this yet,
Danny.
He's saying,
let me just say this: 95.7 The Game will be talking Christian McCaffrey basically all day tomorrow. So it starts with Bonte and Chasky in the morning. They'll go from 6 to 9, and then there's Willard and Dibbs from 9 to noon. Then there's Goo and Steiny from noon to 3. I'm not on tomorrow. I will be covering the 49ers tomorrow. But then Ray Ratto and Damon Bruce from 3 to 6. And I'm sure they're all going to have strong opinions on this. I can't imagine there are too many people who are ripping this. But I've heard some people have suggested to me that Grant maybe is not happy about this. I know from sitting next to him today, talking to him in Santa Clara, that, I had thrown out, hey, McCaffrey, what about this McCaffrey trade? And he's like, they already have a lot of talent, like his idea is that, that they already have plenty of talent and that they should be able to get it done with the talent that they have. I hear that, but what I see is an offense that lacks a dynamic playmaker, and they also lack tackles, and they lack a dependable downfield vertical threat that they can rely on right now. Danny Gray, I think, has got a lot of potential, but it ain't going to be today. And Ray McLeod's got some nice potential and some good speed, but there's fumbling issues and concerns about ball skills. So they didn't really have that big dynamic home run hitter. And now this gives them a premier home run hitter that they can, that they can rally around and I think could potentially lead them to a Super Bowl. So I think this is a great addition.
You think this could open up the slot, though, possibly? You know how Kyle, a couple years ago in 19, he really wanted OBJ, and when he was with Cleveland, and there was talk that he was maybe coming here. Now that he's a free agent, do you think this opens the door, or do you think they are set there and that OBJ's got his mind on KC or Buffalo?
I think OBJ would love to play for Kyle Shanahan and be in this offense, but honestly, I don't know that is he better than Jawan Jennings at this point, coming off the ACL.
They say
the ACL.
Actually a little stronger.
I like what Jawan Jennings looks like, though.
Say OBJ, yeah. What I love about Jawan is he gets those 50-50 balls, and he's a possession receiver. He's tough.
Jawan's tough, man. Jawan is tough. Striptease Trey says, here's $4.99. Have tons of third-round comp picks to make up for the third and the fourth rounders, and can probably get a fifth rounder for Trey this offseason. Easy decision. Fifth rounder for Trey.
You gave up two future ones, and you're going to give up Trey for a fifth?
I mean, seriously, you want people to turn on Shanahan and Lynch, turn around and trade Trey Lance for a fifth-round pick.
Yeah, I think Striptease has been doing too many strip shows or something.
Danker says Christian McCaffrey's like a Roger Craig, a Ricky Waters, a second-effort guy who can receive. I mean,
he's closer to Craig than Waters.
Well, it's interesting. I think in a lot of ways he might be the Niners' best receiving running back since Waters.
Yeah.
I mean, you remember Waters in that Super Bowl against the Chargers, how they sent Jerry through the middle and Waters behind him, and Waters was just wide open. I think they can do the same kind of thing, with Ayuk and Debo and McCaffrey. You send Ayuk through the middle of the field and he takes the coverage with him, and you get McCaffrey out of the backfield and you have him cross the quarterback's face after Ayuk has cleared the thing out, and he might be able to run for days.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's another one from Striptease.
He says, if we had this secondary and McCaffrey in 2019 and 2021, we'd have 2 rings already. Grant's just worried that he will look dumb if Jimmy wins a Super Bowl. I hadn't thought about that. But there's no question with Mooney Ward and, they don't have Mosley. Mosley's done for the year. But, man, Hufanga and Jimmy Ward and Mooney Ward, you got 3/4 of a really good secondary. I mean, really good.
Hey, Larry, here's $5.
P. Newton 415, little $4.99 action. Thank you, P. Newton. Appreciate that. We got this one who says, Bebop Jones, McGlinchey's been having a good year. McGlinchey's been banged up the last couple of weeks, and he's having a hard time just moving around. Hopefully he can lick his wounds and get out there for Kansas City this week. I like McGlinchey. He's a good guy. But man, he just looks like he's in a ton of pain, doesn't he, Dan? I mean, he just looks like he's so sore right now. I bet you anything, if you got Mike to give you truth, you gave Mike some truth serum and said, you got to tell us the truth. He'd probably tell you that he's got like 5 different injuries that he's nursing right now. Don't you get that feeling? Jaguayo 56 is $2 at the very least. We are being aggressive. Good job. I mean, that's really it. Do you want to sit back and kind of hope that you get it done? Or do you want to be proactive and keep a difference-making player like this away from the Rams, away from the Bills, away from the Chiefs? Because I got to think, based on what I've read, that those are the teams that are in line to win a Super Bowl, and those are also the teams that could have been in line to get this player. So that just kind of makes, if I'm Lynch, that put me on red alert. I don't want to see Christian McCaffrey in Buffalo. I'm trying to win the Super Bowl. I don't want to see Christian McCaffrey with the Rams. I'm trying to win the Super Bowl. So there you go. What else we got here? We got this one from Mikey P. Says Sunday, Kansas City's defense can be overcome. It's just about stopping Mahomes. Well, all I'll say is it's also about stopping Chris Jones. I mean, Chris Jones has just absolutely turned the Niners into his personal, whipping boy. I mean, he just dominates them. He throws passes back in Jimmy's direction. He sacks the quarterback. He beats the double team. He stuffs the run. He can be lined up at tackle and stunt outside. He can be lined up at end and stunt inside. I mean, I don't know about you, Danny. I think Chris Jones is, I know Aaron Donald's kind of in a category all his own, but man, as far as just head to head, Chris Jones is the D lineman that gives me nightmares. You muted yourself, Dan. You're still muted.
Wait a minute.
There you go. There you go.
Oh, you know what I did? I was trying to hit. There was I saw a little donation here for $2 from Jaguayo, and I can't find it. Where did it go? Jaguayo. Come on, let me find it. Anyway, Jaguayo said something, $2. He wanted a little bit of.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night.
There you go.
There you go. Thanks, Jaguayo. $2. He said, perfect. Give a little Pasquale for the end of a night. Yeah. So I couldn't find it. I lost it.
Oh, there we go. Jaguayo. Perfect ending for tonight is some Pasquale.
Yeah. There you go, Jaguayo.
Clifford says, what do you think of the run game next year with Trey Lance? I'll say this. If Trey Lance can run the read option in any way, the same way that Marcus Mariota ran it last week, I think we got a glimpse last week of what the potential is. I think in a lot of ways, what we saw out of Mariota last week, Danny, is exactly what I think I'm hoping to see out of Trey.
Yeah, those read options, running outside the tackles, not the power. Don't do the power off right up the gut. That's what they've got to stop. And I'm sure you'll see some of it. It was, it was a freak thing in a way. I mean, same thing happened to Derek Carr, same type of injury. Carr's been able to bounce back, and I think Trey will probably be ready to go for OTAs and everything in the off season, hopefully. So
somebody says OBJ is trash. I don't know if he's trash. I just don't know that I would sell out for OBJ. Striptease Trey says here's $4.99. If we had
we did that one.
We got that one. We get that one.
I think we're
what
caught
up
up on all. I think we're caught up.
This one?
Yeah, we did that one. Yeah,
$4.99.
Yeah, we're good. We caught them all.
We're caught up.
Yeah.
What up this one? We didn't get this one yet. P Newton 415 $4.99. Hey guys, listen to you guys all the time. How many coaches have Christian McCaffrey had at the Panthers before he came here? Sorry, didn't put the questions in.
Oh, okay.
How many coaches has he had? Well, how many?
He had Ron Rivera. He had.
He said, I would say 3.
Rule,
right?
Matt Rule.
Rule had been there for 3 years?
This was his.
So maybe not. Maybe just 1.
Well, Ron Rivera was there for a year.
Oh, Rivera then Rule.
Yeah, I don't know how many offensive coordinators he's had. I mean, I'm not sure, but he didn't suffer. He played pretty darn good when he was on the field. I mean,
we have Jaguayo here on the line. Hey, Jaguayo, how are you, man?
Oh, pretty good, you guys. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing fantastic. We're 2 hours and 45 minutes into this live stream. We've already had Mark Willard stop by. There's 466 people in the room. By the way, if you're in the room,
600.
Yeah, if you're in the room right now and you've never been part of the show, hit like and subscribe. It would help the channel quite a bit. It would help me out quite a bit. It would help Danny and Rye out quite a bit. Hit like and subscribe if you can, and you will be alerted anytime we have a Krueger show and we're talking Niner football or Giant baseball or Warrior basketball. Jaguayo, what'd you think of the deal?
I mean, you can never have too many explosive players. We need that explosion everywhere. And, the thing about it is, like, people say, well, he's gotten hurt and stuff. Well, yeah, he's gotten hurt because he was the only damn weapon for Carolina. The whole defense was always hitting him. He was the only guy. With us over here, at least we have other weapons. It'll lighten the load for him. And when we need explosive, plays, he's going to help us.
Yeah, I agree with your
really
first
point.
Your
Very
first
good point.
point. Yeah, I thought your first point was really good, which was you cannot have enough dynamic weapons. You just can't. It's the NFL is no longer about 13, 14, 15 play drives. It's about quick strike ability, and it's about big plays.
Check
And
your text real quick, Larry. Just yeah.
Check my text.
Yeah, just real. Don't just keep that.
No, I know.
Okay.
I know, Danny. I know. Someone says slacking Ryan, Bomber T. Is Ryan slacking, or did he just have
no? His internet cut out. He's been trying to get in here tonight.
What number will Christian McCaffrey wear?
Number 5.
Wilson. He's 22, right? Isn't that what Jeff
Trey's
Wilson
number 5, right?
Oh, that's right.
Doesn't he wear 22 with the Panthers? Isn't that Jeff Wilson has it?
Yeah, I don't think he's wearing 22.
How much will he have to pay to get the 22?
A lot. That would be my guess.
Who's got 23 or 20? What did he wear at Stanford? 5?
I think it was 5.
Was it 5? I'm really bad on the numbers. Really bad. When I was a little kid, I remembered everybody's number.
Yeah, I used to remember everybody's number too. You could ask me every.
I can remember a lot of football numbers on the Niners, but I don't really really bad with some of these football numbers outside of the Niners. And definitely, if you're asking me for college numbers, no way. No way. No way. I don't know. I'm not sure what number he'll wear. We'll definitely look that one up. Another Clifford asking the same question.
The other thing that helps the 49ers, besides just his explosive ability, is we took him away from the Rams. If they even had an inkling of trying to get him, now the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Cardinals, now they're thinking, oh shit, now what the hell we're gonna do?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Be proactive. And also, this was a player that, Lynch and Shanahan wanted. Shanahan and Lynch have probably, come on, they had the 3rd pick in the draft. This kid went 8th. They went with Solly Thomas. Don't think for a second that they have not been looking at Christian McCaffrey. And I bet you, if you said, what is the over-under on the number of times that John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan had a private conversation where they bemoaned the fact that they passed on McCaffrey, I bet you the over-under on that conversation is like 50.
Oh yeah, easy.
I bet you it's 50 different times they've said to themselves, why did we go Solly there? Why didn't we just go with McCaffrey? We would have this incredible player to this moment. We'd be worlds better, worlds more entertaining. This is the right player at the right time for the right team. I really believe that.
And he's a Stanford guy, with Lynch. It's
exactly.
A
Stanford guy. Hey, Jaguar, we got a couple people want to jump in here, so we'll let you go.
All right, you guys take care. You guys take care. Stay blessed. Huh?
I see Kel's Chronicles in the room.
Bye-bye.
Here we go.
Rich, come on. Don't eat that sandwich. That's for money. That's for me, man.
Let's go to here we go. We'll add Rich.
Kel's
What's going on, Rich? How are you?
What is up, Larry? What's up, Dan Monster Slam? How you guys doing?
Slam. There's our Monster Slam contest winner right there.
Oh, man.
What's going on, Rich? What did you think of the move?
Man, so this is the first time in a long time where I went ghost, specifically today. I got some things going on, so I just turned all notifications off, turned the phone off. I'm sitting outside and a neighbor comes up and tells me, and I'm like, no way. I'm like, are you serious? And it pulled me right out of my isolation, and notifications are back on, and I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, man. I'm super, super juiced. We needed a spark. And this is the explosion we needed. I could hear Brian Baldinger in my head right now talking about, I think he was talking to, who was it? Bonte.
Okay, Bonte.
I think he was talking to Bonte, and he was kind of lost for words. And it was one of the first times I ever seen him lost for words. And he mentioned something along the lines of, there's a philosophy issue. And, he pointed a little bit toward Kyle Shanahan, but then he also said there's a lack of explosion. And this is the spark we needed. This is it's got to play out on the field. A lot of people are saying, hey, those are big balls by Kyle Shanahan. It's like, hey, let's see those same cojones on the field. Let's see it. Let's do it. We got all the pieces. Man, I'm just excited. I'm juiced up, man. Just imagine.
I totally agree with Baldy, by the way. And I said it after on Sunday when they lost to Atlanta. I mean, my takeaways on that game were credit Mariota. He was incredible. Absolutely incredible. Credit Arthur Smith. Tremendous game plan, and he really carried it out. But from the Niner perspective, there were two thoughts. One, they didn't show enough urgency coming down the stretch. They should have eliminated any runs, and instead they ran it a couple times. They should have gone no huddle. Instead, they huddled up a bunch. They went too slow at the end. That's on Kyle. He's got to wear that one. But the bigger overarching issue was that the 49ers offense lacks big play ability and quick strike ability. So when they fell behind 14-0 the first time, you're like, oh, that's a kick to the gut. Now they scored quickly. They used Ayuk. They made it 14-14. But then they fell into another 14-point hole in the second half. And as that game progressed, it just felt like the 49ers were going to need 2 10-plus play drives to get even. and they don't have. I mean, Debo's physical, but he's not a home run hitter. And Ayuk, I think, is physical, but he's not a burner. So who's your speed? Your speed's Ray, but his ball skills are dicey. And Danny Gray, and he's a rookie, and he's maturity issues, and he's, who knows if you can even play him. He's made zero impact. So they needed a dynamic weapon to be added, but they also have to have a weapon that they can connect to. They couldn't just go for some burner on the outside because Jimmy can't make that throw. They got to go with a guy who was dynamic, who would offer things in the short and intermediate range as well. And that's why McCaffrey's perfect, because he will give them a dynamic playmaker, short, middle, and deep. And it won't just be like, hey, if you can't connect with him 35 yards down the field, he's of no use to you. He's going to be of tremendous use, even if he never makes a play 10 yards down the field. That's how I see it. Yeah. I think it's a smart move.
Oh, Larry, it's a great move. And I'm reading some national pundits who are pointing out that they say, winners and losers, and they're saying, the losers are the Steve Wilkes, the coach, he's left with nothing, and that they're commenting that maybe the Niners took on a huge risk because of McCaffrey's injury. They had very little risk. I mean, if you're talking the draft picks, like Willard said, all they really gave up when you consider it was a second. They're picking up 2 more picks, third-round picks that they'll get because of when Ryans becomes a head coach, which is, it's a 99.9% lock.
They're a deep team too. I mean, they don't really need depth.
Right.
They need stars.
Right. And the fact is, his contract, even though it is a $19 million cap hit next year, and even though his base is like 11.8, but it's not guaranteed. So the Niners
they're going to keep him though, and they're going to move money around, or they're going to get rid of Jimmy, right?
And guys will restructure, and they'll do what the Rams did, and they'll keep the thing going for a few years. Hey, Kyle and Lynch, they'd like to get not just one, but they'd like to get 2 Super Bowls out of their tenure. If they can get a couple of Super Bowls, and then the team is way over cap in 4 or 5 years down the road, and they did their job. They did what they were paid to do, brought in to do.
Yeah, man, I'm trying to stay in the moment, but I couldn't help but instantly think what this might look like with Trey Lance. And then like my first initial reactions was kind of like, man, when was the last time we made this big of a trade? Oh my God, we did it. And I hope it's just utilized. I hope it is utilized. I made a joke on opening night for the Warriors, and right before the third quarter started, I immediately said, hey, we know what's about to happen in the third quarter. Kyle Shanahan, please take notes. Please take notes, because we've seen, I don't know exactly how many points we've scored in the second half of games, but just
it's 6 a game, but I think they've hardly scored. Their lowest scoring quarter by far has been the third quarter, which is the quarter that you're supposed to come out of the locker room having made your adjustments. And that has been a strength of theirs in the past. And that hasn't been a strength this year. So that there's a lot of people putting pressure on Kyle and feel like the finger needs to be pointed in his direction because of the lack of third quarter scoring, and and specifically, and also second half scoring generally. But I think ultimately this, it's. Is there frustration with Kyle, and maybe, but I will say this puts a lot. This is kind of Kyle kind of calling himself out. This is basically Kyle saying, hey, you know what? I want the best team, and I want all the smoke. You know what I mean? There are people that think I can't get it done. Give me the talent, and let's do it. And I like that. That means he's not afraid. You know what I mean?
Okay. Calvo actually clarified this with the cap for next year. So Calvo donates $10. Right. Yeah, the $19.8 million cap hit next year would have only applied to Carolina had they kept him, because $8 million of it is a prorated bonus.
Right, which they pay.
As it stands, next year's 11.8. Carolina takes a $27 million dead cap hit. So that makes it a much more favorable contract. When you're talking 3 years at basically $12 million,
Carolina's paying $27 million for all those picks.
Yeah,
I mean that's what they're paying for.
Yeah. So I mean, I like the move. One of the things that this does, though, Niners have to win the division, and here's why. Atlanta has Carolina coming up in weeks 8 and 10. That's 2 probable wins for Atlanta. Atlanta has a really good shot at not only a wild card, but they could contend for that NFC South if Tampa Bay falls back. So, but imagine
I think they will. I really think they will. When I look at how old Brady is and how flawed Tampa looks and how good Atlanta looks, I think Atlanta's going to win some games. I mean, don't tell me that Mariota's just going to play awful straight ahead. He looked incredible last week. He really did.
Yeah. They were one of my underdog picks. I do a weekly show on a different channel, not my channel, but it's called The Last Man Standing. And I've been picking them almost every week throughout the year. I just felt I have a thing for underdogs, and certain underdogs do guys like a Mariota. I thought he would come out and try to prove something and be on fire, and just certainty. It kind of reminds me of an earlier Shanahan team where they just saw that fight and that heart, and you could tell they're they don't have the best roster in the world, but they're showing the fight of a dog, and that's why I think they've lost 3 games by like 11 points.
Right. Exactly.
So they're in every game. They're not getting beat down. They're in every game versus good teams. So, I mean, hey, props to Atlanta for sure. And
what do you guys expect to see Sunday
versus the Chiefs?
Yeah.
Man, I've described the 49ers.
Are you nervous about that game? Are you confident in that game? I saw. Let me give you one number before you give me your thoughts. Let me give you a number that I think is kind of interesting. I just saw this. Let's see if I can find this. Yeah, here we go. Okay, 49ers. Kansas City is 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 games as a favorite. And then factor in that, plus Kyle Shanahan is 5-0 in his last 5 games coming off of a loss against the number.
Hey,
I mean, I'm both trends kind of favor the 49ers this week. I don't know. I mean, it's after watching the Niners lose to the Falcons, and then seeing Kansas City lose to Buffalo, I gotta think Kansas City's going to roll in with just tons of energy, and it's going to be a huge monumental challenge. But there's a lot of people out there that really think the 49ers are going to get it done this weekend. What do you guys think?
I have a good feeling about it, and I even did before the trade. So I feel like the Niners bounce back. Interestingly, the Niners have been under Kyle Shanahan have been a pretty darn good road team, and now this year they've lost they've lost 3 of their 4 games on the road, and they're undefeated at home. Could we see a reversal where we see that the Niners actually play a lot better at home this year? I think also the narrative is that Chiefs are the favorite. They're the big powerhouse offense. Niners defense is beaten up, but I think the Niners come to play Sunday, and I think it'll be a good game, but I think the Niners will somehow pull it out.
What do you think, Rich?
I think the 49ers are the prime definition of like any given Sunday right now. I feel like we could lose to anybody, and I feel like we could beat anybody. And it's almost as simple as that for me. It's just versus, of course I'm looking at versus Mahomes and the Super Bowl, and there's a lot of ammunition in this game, I feel like, and we're at home, and just but I definitely feel like we could win it, especially with our defense. Bosa should be back, right?
Bosa's close to
Bosa's gonna be back.
100%.
And Verrett's also.
Verrett's going to go. Trent
Verrett's
Williams, they're
gonna go.
thinking may go.
Hey, cross fingers for that, because if Verrett is actually, if he goes and he's the player that he used to be, I think that's probably one of the biggest keys right there. Tayshaun Gibson, if he continues to keep playing well, I just feel like, man, once this defense is rolling the way that we've seen it, hey, sky's the limit. And with the addition of CMC, oh man, I'm just excited. I'm juiced up. Yeah, I definitely think we could win without a doubt. Kind of no excuses. I don't really want to say no excuses for Kyle Shanahan, but you would just think with everything that we got, it's go time. It's go time. Hey, let's do it. There's nothing to it but to do it at this point. That's just the feeling that I got. And if I had to bet money, if I had to really put it down, I wouldn't doubt to see a 27, 24 type game, 49ers.
I think it's going to be that kind of game too. I really do. I think it's going to be a very close, high-scoring game. I don't think the Niners defense will be able to stop Mahomes and the Chiefs, but I don't think that the Chiefs defense necessarily will be able to stop the 49ers. Chris Jones is a major factor. Frank Clark's dropped a lot of weight. So he's not quite the 250-pound menace that he was, not that long ago. So that's one angle on the thing. And then, there's Willie Gay, Willie Gay and Bolton, Nick Bolton. They're so fast in the middle, but their speed might be utilized against them in this game just because the 49ers, Shanahan's going to try to pick on those guys and make them play coverage, and they're both run exceptionally well, but can he fool them? I think that's going to be kind of interesting. Kansas City, they drafted Karlaftis out of Purdue, and they've got Karlaftis, Frank Clark, Chris Jones, and Derek Nady up front. But to me, Karlaftis has been a little disappointing. He's not quite the big time athlete that he was at Purdue. At least he doesn't look nearly as explosive. The interesting thing for Kansas City to me, guys, is, to me, I've watched every one of their games. I can't figure out when they use Clyde Edwards-Helaire, when they want to use Jerick McKinnon, when they want to use Isaiah Pacheco. They got three backs and they also have Ronald Jones, a former Buccaneer, but they have three backs that they utilize. But there's no rhyme or reason as to when they use them. So, or if there is, I can't figure it out. I seriously can't figure out why they use Edwards-Helaire, why they use McKinnon. It's like McKinnon, maybe they trust a little bit more as a blocker, and that looks like it's pretty clear. But other than that, I can't really, they've got three backs that are all pretty useful, but it's hard to know exactly what role they're playing. And then this team doesn't have Tyreek Hill. So, Juju Smith-Schuster, McCole Hardman, Valdez-Scantling's very inconsistent. Sky Moore's a rookie, a lot of talent, but he's still a rookie. So to me, they don't look like the same team without Tyreek. But then at the same time, Tyreek, even without Tyreek, their offenses look pretty good. I saw them lose to Indianapolis, and they didn't look very good in that game. And they let a really bad Indianapolis team beat them by just kind of letting them hang around. So, and yet there are other times, they really look good. They look like maybe they might still be the best team in pro football. So what do you think? If you said best team in the league right now, are you giving it to Philly, Kansas City, or Buffalo?
Man, it feels like Buffalo.
I'll take Buffalo. I'll take
Buffalo.
Yeah, Buffalo.
I think most people would take
Buffalo. It's kind of like, I think the only reason why it'd be Buffalo, it's like we kind of seen what Josh Allen has done in the playoffs. He lost versus Mahomes, but he did everything he could possibly do. We haven't seen Jalen Hurts yet, on that kind of a stage. So, I've seen many of teams look like the best team in the NFL the first 6, 7, 8 weeks, and then all of a sudden fall off the map. I think the Cardinals did it last year. where they didn't
Oh, yeah.
completely fall off, but you know,
I'll be right back, guys.
yeah,
Yep.
no. Yeah. And another thing you had me thinking of, man, it might have lost. I might have.
Well, you're talking about the
lost it.
Cardinals.
Yeah, I was talking about the Cardinals. I was thinking you had me thinking of a few other things prior to that, man, and it slipped my mind. It's getting late.
No problem. No problem. You know what? Let me ask you the question I asked Willard. There was so much talk this week about Harbaugh and so much talk about Shanahan versus Harbaugh. In a lot of ways, I was thinking that, with Harbaugh showing up at the game this weekend, that there was going to be an awful lot of people talking about Harbaugh and the Harbaugh years, and making the comparison to Shanahan. In some ways, I feel like this changes the whole narrative for this weekend from this inevitable comparison between Jim Harbaugh and Kyle Shanahan to the task at hand, which is winning the Super Bowl this year with Christian McCaffrey. What does he mean to them? How does he change their dynamic offensively? What does he contribute? What does he contribute this week against Kansas City? What does he contribute next week against the Rams? What does he contribute down the stretch? How do they utilize him? I just think that the whole narrative kind of switches from this, what we were going to get, which is, who do you like more, Harbaugh or Shanahan, to, more of a focus on the players and the addition of McCaffrey and what it's going to mean going forward. And to me, that's a positive, because there's nothing positive that's going to come out of this breakdown between Shanahan and Harbaugh. When Harbaugh went 44-19-1, Shanahan's sub 500, and there's just a lot of people are going to forget all the things that Jim Harbaugh, all the distractions that we saw during the Harbaugh regime that you don't have today. I don't think, people forget that, but they remember 44-19-1. Let's just say that.
Yeah. People are putting up a lot of videos of the way Harbaugh is loved on his players. And I loved Harbaugh. Like I'm just by nature, just an old school kind of guy. So I love those guys that, what's one of the things he said,
who's got it better than us?
Nah, yeah, but he was talking one time about having armadillo skin and not
tougher than Alex Smith is tougher than a $2 steak and that kind of stuff.
Not having baby deer skin and
mighty men.
Yeah.
Or my favorite one that we used to have in the sound system at KMBR was, man, if you're gonna go to the face, come with some knuckles. Come with some knuckles. He's like, don't go with an open slap. If you're coming to the face, you better come with some knuckles. I mean,
Jim Harbaugh.
Harbaugh is. I mean, come on, man. He's one of a kind.
Yeah, he is, man. And I love that, man. I gotta, when I really get comfortable, man, I got a little bit of an off the hook personality and like to get goofy. But then he flips the script and he gets serious and he'll be talking about, gladiators or
right.
just Greek
iron
mythology.
Sharpens iron.
Yeah, there we
Dusty
go.
Gold. Mr. NorCal Harbaugh is a great motivator.
Great motivator. We want winners.
Yeah,
that was Mike Singletary.
That was Mike Singletary.
Yeah, man.
He's got to watch the film.
Yeah, huh? Yeah, exactly.
Mike Singletary. What'd you think of your team today? I've got to watch the film.
Gotta watch
that answer got tired.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking to a coach. You just coached the game. You're now in the presser. Tell us what you thought of the game. I got to watch the film. All right. Oh my God.
Anything? There wasn't one play, one drive.
I mean, now you're Shanahan. You'll be like calling out sequences of plays and coverages and and adjustments and it's like his recall on the game is so impressive compared to I just got to check the film. Well, when you do check the film, can we ask you questions then? It's like but So yeah, Singletary. It's funny. Singletary plays football coaches in commercials. Have you noticed that?
I don't.
Yeah, he's had a couple different commercials where he's like playing the coach, And it's kind of funny because he struggled so mightily as a coach. But Rich, give me your final thought on this one. I think we're 3 hours and almost 15 minutes into the live stream. We're coming up on midnight. We're probably going to call it quits, despite the fact we got 400 plus people in the room. But give me your final takeaway on the trade. You sound excited. You sound super gung ho on the rest of the season. Give me one last thought before we bid you farewell.
Man, hey, just like I said when I first came on, hey, you showed the cojones, by this move, and then on top of it, you kept them away from the Rams, and it made me think about Matthew Stafford and whatnot. And I'm glad we didn't get Matthew Stafford. I'm glad we got Trey Lance. I was huge about Trey Lance. Whoever knows me, everybody who knows me, knows, I'm big on Trey and all that. So I think it's amazing, man. We got all the pieces. Shanahan, we know he loves to run. And, and I don't know if he's ever had a weapon like this. The ties with McCaffrey and Ed McCaffrey and Mike Shanahan, and it just feels right. It really does. I mean, he's from Stanford. Christian McCaffrey looks like he should be in a Niners uniform.
Let's be honest. They took the wrong Stanford guy the year they took Solly.
Yes.
They should have taken McCaffrey. They should have taken McCaffrey. They took Solly. And don't think that Lynch hasn't thought about it. He knows. He took Solly 3rd. McCaffrey went 8th. They've been looking at McCaffrey from afar going, man, how good would he have looked in a 49er uniform? Damn, we blew that. And now this is their second go around. And I just love the aggressiveness. And I love the aggressiveness this year, particularly because I'm looking at the NFC and they're seeing it the exact same way that we're seeing it, which is they ain't nobody in the conference that can stop the 49ers from going to Glendale. Nobody.
Real talk.
So
hey, Tom Brady is I'm not afraid of Tom Brady. I know everybody's gonna say, hey, go, yada, yada, yada. But to me, it looks like the decline is happening. I mean, no
question. He's yelling at his line. He's he's regressed.
I mean, you can't really, like I said about the Cardinals, being on fire in the beginning of last year. Who knows what the Eagles are really going to do? They haven't been there. You can have all the talent in the world.
Who knows if Jalen Hurts is even going to be upright by they're running him 15 times a week. There's a lot of weeks between now and the playoffs. We'll see if he's there.
And then we got the number on Green Bay already. And then we also have that experience in the playoffs. I know we haven't won the Super Bowl, but we got the experience. We've been through every kind of adversity you could think of. It feels like we should be 6-0, maybe 5-1, but it's almost remarkable that we're 3-3, with all the injuries, with all the drama, with, you lose your first string quarterback, your first string running back, your left tackle, just the Trey, the Jimmy, the Kyle, you've been through a ton, even in the offseason, the Debo contract. Ayuk's emerging. Now he's not getting the ball. It's like you're going through so flipping much, but I think it, sometimes it can make you or break you, or, I think because, and not just this season, they've been through it. These guys have been together for a while. They've been through everything. They got the experience, and hey, this is the year to get it done, whether it's Trey, Jimmy, now I remember what I was going to say. As long as we can stick to the basics, as long as we can keep the mistakes down, keep the penalties down, just do the basics right, and we have the talent. We got the leadership. We got the coaches, even though I'm super hard on Kyle Shanahan. It's like we got it all. Now just do the basics right. Just
no question about it. Fozzie says, Larry, get a cup of coffee. We want you here all night. Mitchell and Ness, Larry always grinding. He can talk sports forever. Could you imagine if it's like 4 a.m.
24/7.
What? Yeah, McCaffrey.
CMC.
McCaffrey.
Debo.
Just every 15 minutes, just lean your head back up. Lynch, McCaffrey, Shanahan. Bosa, Chiefs, Niners, Sunday. All right, Rich, you're the man. Thanks for checking in with us. Have a great one. We'll do it again.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all. Y'all have a blessed night. Yeah, man. Go Niners. Let's get it.
Go Niners. There you go. That was cool.
All nighter, Larry. Yeah.
Can you imagine if we're just sitting here, we're just passed out?
Larry's bedtime.
Chiefs.
Larry's bedtime
trade.
is 3:00.
McCaffrey trade.
Yeah, Larry's just coming alive right now. He
Man.
was up the other night. I'm kind of a late night owl, so I'm laying there looking at my phone. All of a sudden, Krueger heads have traded, dropped so and so from their roster.
I was making moves the other night.
Yeah, it was like 12:30.
I was making all kinds of moves. I had to make all kinds of moves because I had guys. I looked down and all of a sudden I've got Justin Jefferson on a bye. I got Joseph the kicker on a bye. I got a tight end who's hurt. I got a guy who's on the IR list, but he's no longer hurt. So I had to take him off the IR. Then I had to create roster spots. I'm picking up people. I'm dropping people. It was a busy night. It was a busy night. GTC Reels. Let's go, Larry. Get excited. What do we got this one? Hey Spider 8, the Larry Lewis telethon. Let's go to the board. How much have we raised for Christian McCaffrey's trade?
I got to ask Sean if he's still in the room. I don't know. He may have gone to bed. Sean Proctor. He's got Mahomes and Kelsey. Those are two of his bigger guys. So what's he pulling for this week for Mahomes and Kelsey to go off in the Niners?
Sean Proctor told me today on the phone, Danny, that he's got 4 different fantasy leagues. He's 17-1 or something like that.
Oh my goodness.
No, seriously. I mean, seriously. I actually, you know what? They always say a little bit's good and more is better. I would say the opposite when it comes to fantasy. I like one fantasy team. I have one wife. I have one fantasy team. I have one dog. I don't want a second wife. I don't want a second dog. I don't want a second fantasy team. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, I guess
I don't understand people who have like 5 fantasy teams. That means that you're rooting for and against like so many damn people every week. You don't even. That means invariably you're rooting for and against somebody in the same weekend. That to me kills it. If I'm a Giants fan, right? During baseball season. If I was a Giants, Dodgers, Padres, and Rockies fan, that would be very difficult.
Yeah. I don't know.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Who's your teams? I'm a Giant, Dodger, Rocky, and Padre fan. So and then they have the unbalanced schedule. So I'm just fucked. I'm just constantly watching games with my thumb at my ass, going, I don't know who to root for. I'm not sure who I want to win. I hate that. So I don't want to. I don't want 2 wives. I don't want 2 dogs, and I don't want 2 fantasy teams.
Yeah, the only thing I want 2 of is dogs. Okay, because
Where's Faith? Where's Buster?
Buster's sitting right over here.
Let's see Buster. There we go. Buster. Buster. Oh, look at that. He just jumps right up.
Here comes Faith. Yep.
Nice.
How you guys
doing? Penny, our golden retriever's got the cone. She's got the cone right now because she's been scratching herself. She's been scratching herself so militantly.
Did she get
I don't know. I don't know what I don't know if it's ticks, fleas. I don't know what the heck the deal. But we've had her wearing the cone the last couple of days.
Crash into everything.
Yeah, the cone of shame.
Yeah, that's what
it's a bad look too.
Yeah. It's
anyway, GTC Reels. There you go, Larry. Let it out. All right.
Yeah,
hey, let's play our final spot, and then we'll come back for our final word, and then we'll say goodnight on the Krug Show.
And thanks to Tony Cassera and the good people at Cassera's Italian Menswear. They are housing the Krug Show t-shirts, and they're a proud sponsor of the show as well. The Krug Show t-shirt, the Krug Show podcast t-shirt is available there at their store in Dublin. Their address is 7372 San Ramon Road in Dublin, California. And go see Tony Cassera and get yourself a Krug Show t-shirt and support the show. And special thanks to our sponsor, New York Style Italian Sausage. That's right, NewYorkStyleSausage.com is their website. Phenomenal product, whether it's the breakfast sausage, the Italian mild, the Italian spicy, the chorizo. You cannot go wrong with New York Style Italian Sausage. Once again, NewYorkStyleSausage.com. Often imitated, never equaled.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday dinner without sausage, it's like a church without God. You know, how can you go to church if you don't believe in God? You know, and along with the sausage also became the discussions. That was discussion night. You know, it wasn't a typical family that you sit there and you're quiet, you know, and you don't talk with a mouthful. Oh no, man. Italians talk when they're eating. Italians even talk when they're sleeping. And definitely we talk with our hands. So if we can't express it through our mouth, through our lips, we express it with our hands. So, and that's what sausage is, really. It's an expression, you know, that life is good.
So New York Style Sausage was started over 70 years ago. We are the largest producer of fresh Italian sausage on the West Coast.
What makes our sausage in New York style is really the recipe came from back east, from New York, you know, from Connecticut.
If you look at all of our labels, there's maximum 4 or 5 ingredients, which we're really proud of.
There's no preservatives, no MSG, fresh in, fresh out.
The pork comes in fresh, goes out fresh. There's never any freezing throughout the process. We've always used fine quality cuts. We're never going to deter from that. It's one of the reasons why our sausage is so good. I guarantee you put our sausage up against anybody else's from a flavor standpoint, no one will beat it, hands down.
Hey, do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Go buy a package of the New York Style Italian sausage. Guaranteed you will love it. Guaranteed.
Down the home stretch on the Krug Show, an impromptu Krug Show tonight on this Thursday night. Hope everybody enjoyed the impromptu show. Lots of people in the chat tonight. The 49ers out of nowhere made a trade, trading a second, third, and fourth round draft choice in 2023 and a fifth round pick in 2024 to the Carolina Panthers. And in return, they get the Pro Bowl running back Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey is a hell of a player. He's a hell of a player. We've been talking about it for the last couple of hours, and a lot of people have weighed in. All right, tomorrow. By the way, if you're if you're one of the 365 people that are still in the room right now, hit like and subscribe. You know, if you want to help the channel, we've been doing this for several months now. We've been having a lot of success. We've got over 7,000 subscribers. A lot of people involved in the live streams. Well, we do a lot of live streams on the Giants, the post game Giants, the Warriors. Did a lot of stuff during the finals. We do Niners stuff. We're gonna have a video. We're gonna have a deal tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm gonna catch up with the Kansas City Chiefs color analyst, is going to join us tomorrow. And the great Jeff Chadilla from ESPN is going to join us as well. We'll talk more about the McCaffrey trade. Vish is going to stop by tomorrow as well on the channel. And then Ryan and I spent the last couple of days down at Niner Camp interviewing a whole slew of players from Kamoko Toure to just a bunch of guys. I mean, really Drake Jackson and a bunch of guys. So we'll play some of those interviews coming up tomorrow night on the live stream. If we wind up not doing one tomorrow night because we're doing so much stuff in the day, we'll do it in the afternoon, or we'll do it the next day on Saturday. But we'll definitely do a live stream with all that Niner stuff as well, all those Niner videos. And we'll talk a lot more about this trade in the days ahead for sure. And of course, join me on Sunday. I'll be doing pregame and postgame for Talk Sport in London. And then you can catch me with Lo Neal from the Hilton right there on Tasman as we bring you a couple hours of 49er pregame leading into the 125 affair. So join me and Lo Neal at the Hilton there on Tasman in Santa Clara for Niner pregame on 95.7 The Game. Now, I also have to encourage all of you, tune in bright and early for Shasky and Bonte tomorrow at 6 a.m., 6 to 9, then Willard and Dibbs 9 to noon, Goo and Steiny from noon to 3, and then Damon and Ratto from 3 to 6. And I guarantee you there's going to be an awful lot of talk about Christian McCaffrey in this huge trade that brings him to the 49ers and maybe makes the 49ers the front runner in the NFC when it comes to going to the Super Bowl. All right, Danny, you got a final thought on this one as we've gone almost 3.5 hours. We're cruising up on 12:15. I do appreciate you jumping in here. You've been awesome on all these live streams, and people once again should get a hold of Dan. Dan does financial planning. And if you're in need of financial planning and getting your money in order, Danny is a well-informed and very trusted individual on that front. So please give him a call and solicit his services. But Danny, give me your final thought on the night. An exciting night for 49er fans, an exciting night for NFL fans. This is one of the biggest trades we've seen in the league in a while.
Right. Got a couple thoughts on this. 1981, Niners midseason trade, Fred Dean.
Yes, that's a great one. I forgot about that. He had 4 sacks in his debut?
Something like that.
It was 4 or 5 sacks in his debut. This guy smoked cigarettes at halftime.
He's
a bad man.
Helps lead the Niners to their first Super Bowl title in San Francisco history. And then in 94, Dion was not a trade, but he was a free agent, right?
Dion came to the Niners in free agency, yep.
But was it at the beginning of the season or was it into the season?
Well, he was playing for the Atlanta Falcons, wasn't he?
Yeah, and
so he, I think, came in like the
Braves.
Third game.
Yeah, he didn't start, and they lost to Philadelphia. The 4th or 5th game got blown out,
40-8. I was there. Yeah. Charlie Garner rumbled up and down the field.
Became 3-2. Went on to go 13-3, and win another Super Bowl. So I'm hoping this thread continues with mid-season star acquisitions.
Are you surprised, Danny, that there's not more trades in football?
Yeah, it's not like the NBA or basketball. Yeah, I don't understand that.
I don't understand it either. Yeah, it's like weird how there's a lack of trades.
Few trades, yeah. It's really strange. And the other thing, it's always been strange to me is like baseball, you don't see trades for like draft picks. Like,
well, you can't. It's exactly against baseball rules.
I guess, yeah, it's just kind of strange. I don't know, why they have that. But anyway,
I think they feel like there would be teams that would relinquish their picks at such a level that it would screw up their team for years to come. And I think they're afraid of some over-aggressive owner who's prioritizing today over tomorrow to such a degree that they have no tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my only guess.
So those two trades, kind of tonight's trade reminded me of the excitement when Fred Dean came and then Dion came, and they were difference makers. Those were defensive guys. Now we've got an offensive guy. The last offensive trade that really benefited the Niners was Sanders from Denver, Emmanuel Sanders in 19. They got to the Super Bowl and they really took off. So
Charles Menahue was a trade last year. The year before that, there was Jordan Willis.
Jordan Willis from the Jets, yeah.
The Niners have actually made their more than their share of trades, believe it or not. But I think you only go and give up draft capital in a trade if you are in your Super Bowl window and there's a player that comes available that fits a need that you have today that you also can benefit from having that player on your roster beyond this year. When the player's going to be on your roster beyond this year, he's going to help you this year, and you're inside your like Super Bowl window. I think that's when you should demonstrate aggressiveness, and I think Lynch was right to make this move.
I wouldn't mind seeing them go out and get another player to.
I agree.
If he's on
more position,
let's say. Like I said earlier, I like beefing up the offensive line with somebody who's a NFL starter, not a depth piece, but someone that could come in and be a difference maker, that could actually be a real top center. Maybe somebody that's going to be a free agent next year and it doesn't cost you much. Maybe it costs you one of those 7th round picks or something. A team that is not going anywhere this year and wants to, build for the future. Maybe you give up one of your 5s or whatever. The Niners need to go all in and this year. And, if it cost them another draft pick that's mid-level or later, 3rd day pick, I'm not worried about that at all, because they've proven that not only can they draft well in later rounds, but they can pick up unsigned free agents. So,
which is a huge thing, because let's be honest, your day 1 pick means everything. That's your first round pick. Yeah. Those are your stars of your team. Day 2 picks, very important. When you get to a 4th round pick, the player that you get as an undrafted free agent is a very similar type player.
Right.
So I'm not saying that, I'd rather have a 4th round pick than a 7th round pick. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying that, after you get through the first wave or 2 of talented players, the 4th and 5th round pick is just kind of very, I'm giving you an example. 49ers took Brock Purdy and they took him in the 7th round.
Right.
But talking to the 49er personnel people, they had Brock Purdy rated as a 4th or a 5th round pick. And he just happened to fall to the 7th round. So they got a player in the 7th that they had graded out in the 4th or 5th. And there's a lot of teams that when it gets to the 4th or 5th round, it's like beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And just because he's on our board in the 7th round, he might be on your board in the 4th round. So I really believe that if you can find players in day 3 of the draft or after the draft that can fill your needs, that enables you to be really hyper aggressive in going to get the players you want.
Their 3rd round picks haven't been all that successfel. Fred Warner, great 3rd round pick, but
Trey Sermon,
TDP, Trey Sermon,
Keller Witherspoon.
Yeah. There's been some guys that have been Joe Williams.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's been some real misses in this, Shanahan Lynch era, but they've made up for it with guys in the 5th, 6th, 7th round and undrafted. Kittle, 5th round, Hufanga, 5th round.
I like the timing of this more than anything, Danny. Why? Because I think it's important for their window that they get that 6th ring, but they're also on the heels of one of the deepest drafts that they've ever had since Lynch was here. And so now you've got all those depth pieces, and they're on your roster, they're on your practice squad. So now you can put together a few picks and go after one great player, and they did it.
It used to be that when you drafted 7 guys, if you had 7 picks, that guys 4, 5, 6, and 7 picks were not a shoe-in to make the team. It was generally just your 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round picks in many, many years. They have hit really, like you said, 14 picks. That's equivalent to almost 2 drafts, 2 years of picks that, they've stockpiled that are either contributing now or are going to be ready to contribute next year because they're on the practice squad. So, I mean, we saw what they did with Banks last year. Everybody's saying Banks is a bust, and he's just getting better and better last year.
Oh, I love what I'm seeing from Banks now.
Yeah, look at him. He's like one of the better rated guards in football.
And he's pretty athletic.
Yeah.
He's pretty athletic. He's a road grader. Last chat of the night, glass half full guy donates $4.99. He says, I love this trade. Who the hell cares about draft picks? This is a win now team. Worry about the future later. Debo and Christian McCaffrey, lethal potentially.
Very
Absolutely.
much so.
Danny, great stuff, man. Have a terrific night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Awesome.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Careful, whatever you bring me getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to